9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Tim Hughes. Let's take a look at our top stories this hour, and we begin with breaking news on KSL. We're learning more about the charges against New York City Mayor Eric Adams. He has been indicted on federal charges alleging that he took bribes and illegal campaign contributions from foreign sources. Two sisters from Eagle Mountain say they were threatened by an armed driver in a pharmacy drive-thru. They say the driver cut in line, and one of the sisters tried to confront her about it.
My sister's walking away. I see a gun pointed at her. I was screaming that she was pointing a gun at a pregnant woman and that she was being crazy and needed to settle down.
The sisters called 911. Police then arrested 53-year-old Christine Cotter for aggravated assault. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The American economy expanded at a healthy 3% annual pace from April through June, boosted by strong consumer spending and business investment. The nation's total output of goods and services picked up sharply from the beginning of the year. Your money at this moment, the markets have been reacting to that GDP information and been up and down. Here's the crazy thing. We were up 1.5% on the NASDAQ early, and all of a sudden we have gone negative here. All of that's gone. We're down about 3 points. The S&P is up 10. The Dow is still up 206 points. Coming up, we'll get a look at a very hot, unseasonably so, a very hot forecast that'll last through the weekend. KSL News Time now, 9:02. It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
What makes you so different than the rest of us?
We ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Tell me more.
Our investment counselors focus on service over sales, prioritizing clients' needs.
How do you make money?
We don't sell any commission-based products. We have a simple management fee based on the value of our client's portfolio. So we do better when our clients do better.
What about client portfolios?
We get to know each client, their finances, family, health, lifestyle, and more, and then we tailor a portfolio based on their specific goals and needs.
Your clients really come first then, huh?
Yes, we make them a top priority. Our goal is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Wow, maybe we are different.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Have you ever heard of the 5 Ps? That's right, the 5 Ps. These can be applied to most every area of your life, but it's especially true for you and your money. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and many years ago when I was a young man in the Marine Corps, I learned about the 5 Ps. Proper planning prevents poor performance. Now, you can't control what's happening with the stock market, but you can control how you plan for it. Trajan Wealth and our fiduciary advisors have been helping our clients with the 5 Ps for years. We have hearts of teachers and will never complicate by using financial jargon. Our fee structure is transparent. The more you make, the more we make. The majority of our clients come from other financial advisors. Isn't it time for a second opinion to allow Trajan Wealth to help you with the 5 Ps too? Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600 or visit TrajanWealth.com.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
In 2024, dating is a disaster. We've been ghosted, breadcrumbed, stuck in situationships. Hi, I'm Debbie.
I'm Caitlin. Welcome to our new podcast, Dating at Her Age.
Dating has been so dicey for us, we asked KSL, can we launch an all-new podcast about it?
People use these dating apps. You're not really dating when you're on the dating app.
Dating at Her Age, brought to you by Mountain Home Services. A new episode drops every Thursday on KSLNewsRadio.com.
Join Lagoon's maintenance and construction team for the most thrilling job around. Lagoon is looking for exceptional ride technicians, skilled carpenters, electricians, plumbers, and more. Lagoon offers excellent training programs with amazing career opportunities. These positions are both full-time and year-round. Apply online today at lagoonpark.com/jobs. Join the Lagoon team and help us maintain the fun. Must be 18 years of age or older to apply.
Let's get that look at traffic and weather together. Brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents a gallon. Is it Mark in there?
Yes, it is, Tim. And it looks like I-15 moving pretty well from the point of the mountain now. If you're still headed towards the downtown area, watch for the brake lights. 90 is south through the south interchange there. And then as you make your way further towards I-80, from that point, leading off 600 south downtown, a little bit slow. Coming out of Davis County, same situation from the north interchange there down through the downtown area, a little bit slow as well. In Utah County, they're still taking up the left HOV lane. This between 2100 North and the 92 off-ramp due to an earlier accident there. Durden's Appliance is offering Black Friday pricing now and no interest financing through 2026 on single appliance or whole kitchen packages on 5th South in Bountiful or Durden'sAppliance.com. Mark Christiansen in the KSL Traffic Center.
Well, this will put it into perspective. Today's 90 will be the coolest of the next 4 days with record-setting temperatures, or at least the possibility of it, all the way through Sunday. Right now in Salt Lake City, it's sunny downtown, 73 from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. I'm Tim Hughes. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
It's not just Amendment D that is on our brains today. Of course, you heard it all morning long right here on KSL News Radio. You probably got the alert, like I did last night to your cell phone, that the Utah Supreme Court, in very short order, sided with the lower court judge that Amendment D will be voided. It's not just Amendment D, though. Dave and I asking, well, what about Amendment A? What about Amendment B? What about Amendment C?
I'm looking at my sample ballot right now, Debbie. I'm looking at my sample ballot, and the section that hits constitutional amendments, ABC, they likely could all be gone. All of them. We'll find out officially. It's 9:07. It's time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
And here are 3 things that Debbie wants you to know.
Countdown 3.
There's a new report out on the first assassination attempt of former President Trump. At that rally in Pennsylvania, where the gunman easily gained access and line of sight to Trump. Dave and I give you the list of what went wrong. Let you hear it for yourself. One U.S. Senator comparing this list of Secret Service failures that they've uncovered to, remember Abbott and Costello? Remember your parents, your grandparents watching Abbott and Costello? Yeah, he's comparing it to their Who's on First comedy routine.
Well, then who's playing first?
Yeah.
I mean, the fellow's name on first base.
Who?
The fellow playing first base for St. Louis.
Who?
The guy on first base.
Who is on first?
Well, what are you asking me for?
I'm not asking you, I'm telling you, who is on first?
I'm asking you who's on first.
And that would be hilarious if it weren't so tragic. Who has the rooftop with the direct line of sight with Trump? I don't know. No, I don't know is on the rooftop. No, who's on the... That's what it was. I mean, again... It plays out exactly like a comedy.
Countdown 2.
If you're using weight loss injections to drop pounds, well, senators in Washington, D.C. have been grilling one of the largest drug makers when it comes to weight loss drugs about why it costs almost $1,300, or actually almost $1,400 a month in the United States to take one of these drugs, compared to $265 a month in Canada. And you won't believe the bargain price Germans get it for. That's off the top of our 10 o'clock hour.
The United States is Novo Nordisk's cash cow for Ozempic and Wegovy. All we are saying, Mr. Jorgensen, is treat the American people the same way that you treat people all over the world. Stop ripping us off.
Stop ripping us off. And Debbie, I don't know if I've ever shared this. I haven't shared it on with you or our folks listening. I looked into this.
Yeah.
I was going to take one of these weight loss injections, and the reason I didn't is because it was just far too expensive. So I went a different route. But it would have broken the bank. Like, not even don't send kids to college. Don't send kids to the lunch line.
Launch.
The Utah Supreme Court issuing its decision on Amendment D not long after yesterday's hearing wrapped up. We covered that hearing live right here on KSL News Radio. Adam Small running into studio from the Utah Supreme Court after the state wrapped up its arguments. Well, Amendment D is void. The justices agreeing with a lower court judge saying she ruled correctly that the legislature did not meet constitutional requirements. So here's the lineup this morning. At 9:35, we got reaction live from a Utah lawmaker to ask him what, if anything, is next regarding this for Capitol Hill. And at 9:20, live analysis from KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas.
In fairness to everyone, when you're voting to change the Constitution, that's a significant thing. That's a very significant thing. And you would expect voters to have as much notice and information about it as possible, just as we do with respect to our elected officials, which we've known about for months now.
And they shut it down on a couple of different levels. And why I think what almost seemed like the least interesting argument might tank all the other amendments that are on the ballot as well. Amendments A, B, and C.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The Launch.
Commence.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
At 9:35, live reaction from a lawmaker on the heels of the Utah Supreme Court siding with that lower court judge. So from Capitol Hill's perspective, at least my viewpoint, this was a shutout for the legislature. First, from a lower court judge who voided the amendment, and then last night from the Utah Supreme Court, Dave.
And I would say this was something that came together very quickly, right? There was a special session to get some of these things on the ballot, especially regarding initiatives. This came together very quickly. And oftentimes, as is the case, when you're in a hurry, something gets missed. And there were a couple of things that were very big things that got missed. The very careful wording of the amendment, and then also the publishing of the amendment.
So let's just briefly remind our listeners what Amendment D says. Should the Utah Constitution be changed to strengthen the initiative process? And then it gives a list of reasons why it would strengthen, at least in the viewpoint of the writers of this amendment that was on the ballot, why it would strengthen the initiative process. The word strengthen is really what you highlighted yesterday in our discussions about this while the hearing was going on at the Supreme Court.
In fact, I think if they had removed that word strengthen, that adjective, then everything probably would have been moved forward fine. I mean, there was the publication issue that we'll get into in a minute, but quite frankly, the strengthen was what many people felt was misleading about this.
And with what the Supreme Court said in its ruling last night is not only that the legislature did not cause the amendment to be published in newspapers throughout the state for 2 months, the description that will appear on the ballot does not submit the amendment to voters, quote, with such clarity as to enable the voters to express their will, and citing that the district court correctly ruled that neither of those constitutional prerequisites was met with respect to Amendment D.
Now, there is a real struggle, and let's not pretend like this is an easy issue and that the legislators should have just worded it differently. You're taking oftentimes a 2-page amendment that is very detailed, and you're trying to sum it up in 2 or 3 sentences on a ballot that people can read and vote on. That is incredibly difficult to be able to summarize it just right. Not to give too much information, not to sway too much, not to give too little information. This is an incredibly difficult tightrope to walk. So I appreciate the difficulty of their job trying to pick every single word just right. But the courts found these descriptions to be misleading.
I want to ask Greg Skorda straight ahead, not only get his reaction to the decision on Amendment D, that it is voided, not only by the decision by the lower court judge, but by the Utah Supreme Court. It is voided. What happens next to amendments A, B, and C that are on our ballots? Are those tanked as well? Greg Skordas to give us his legal analysis next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
One of the things I love about Salt Lake City fat loss, and I just shared this, I was thinking about doing the injection route to lose some weight, but quite honestly, it was too expensive. It was way too expensive for me, so I started looking at another route, and that's where I found Salt Lake City fat loss. And I'll tell you, it has been incredible. I lost so much weight so quickly, 57 pounds in 60 days. And because the results every single day, quite honestly, I was losing a pound a day. Because those results were so great, I stayed motivated to stay on the program. Because like many things, we'll stay motivated for the first 5 minutes, a few days, a couple weeks maybe, but you have to be able to stay on it for the entire length of the program. And I did. I stayed on it for the full 2 months, lost 57 pounds. If you're interested, results vary, of course, right? But I'd check it out. Give them a call. Find out more about Salt Lake City Fat Loss by going to their website slcfatloss.com. That's slcfatloss.com.
In a big election year like this,
Trump called for a grand jury to investigate.
News happens fast.
Harris said she wants an assault weapons ban.
A significant paradigm shift for the Secret Service.
On the way to work, searching for lunch, or heading home, come here to catch up. We have you covered in the car at 102.7 FM.
Keep summer alive all year with an amazing swim spa from Bullfrog Spas. With the benefit of a heated swim spa, you can enjoy year-round swimming, playing, and exercising outside. Plus, endless days of relaxation with our patented jetpack therapy system to provide your own perfect personalized massage. Don't miss Bullfrog Spa's endless summer sale through September 28th. You'll save up to $5,000 off MSRP and get a free swim tether kit. So hurry into your local Bullfrog Spa's factory store.
Bullfrog Spas. Peaceful body, peaceful mind, peaceful home.
This is the day of the big sale at your gift shop.
Welcome in.
So this isn't just a big day for your business. It's a big day for the network keeping it all connected. That is, if it can handle the pressure.
Next in line, please.
So is it possible to get business internet you can really count on? It is. With 99.9% network reliability from Comcast Business. It's like this neat little bow.
Would you like that gift wrap?
Really ties it all together. Reliable internet for your business. It's not just possible, it's happening. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Switch to Comcast Business and get started with reliable internet and advanced security for $49.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year agreement. Plus, ask how to get up to a $500 prepaid card with a qualifying internet package. Don't wait. Call or go online to switch today. Offer ends 10/13/24. Restrictions apply. New customers only with 150 megabit per second internet. Eco bill and auto pay required. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. After 12 months, regular rates apply.
Attention commercial property managers and business owners. Say snowplow 3 times and who shows up? GoPave Utah. Clearing snow faster than you can say sandworms. That's GoPaveUtah.com.
The Management Minute is a service of the MBA program in the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. I'm Professor Scott Hammond. Heads up! The parents called to their Little League player who was counting daisies in the outfield. Heads up! The coach called to his players, hoping that they would see and respond to what was about to happen in the game. When we say heads up, we're saying pay attention to the details of your job. But we're also saying pay attention to what's happening in the game. All of us are charged with doing micro details, but also seeing the bigger picture and reacting to macro surprises and helping others. If you do just the details, heads up. If you see just the big picture, heads up too. Learn more about framing your work in an MBA program from Utah State University. Go to utahstatemba.com. That's utahstatemba.com. I'm Scott Hammond. Hope to see you in one of our classes.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, fast-moving Hurricane Helene has been upgraded to a Category 2 storm and is advancing across the Gulf of Mexico towards Florida. It's expected to make landfall tonight, possibly at a Category 4 status. Second, votes towards Amendment D this November will not be counted. The Utah Supreme Court sided with a previous ruling that voided it from the ballot. And third, New York City Mayor Eric Adams has been indicted after a year-long investigation. It started with campaign finance employees, but has expanded now to include some of the top members of the mayor's administration. We'll shoot for a high today of 90 degrees, and right now is sunny skies in Salt Lake City at 73. Let's get you back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
You just heard our very own Tim Hughes walking you through what the Supreme Court's decision last night means to Amendment D that is on your ballot. It's voided. Votes will not be counted. And in light of the Supreme Court's ruling, effectively backing up a lower court judge's decision to void Amendment D for constitutional concerns, the question now becomes, are A, B, and C amendments tanked too?
It's a great question because if D is dead, well, the same argument can be made for A, B, and C, specifically about publishing. And what the state constitution says is that 60 days prior to the election, you have to publish in every one newspaper in every county, the entire text of the amendment so people can study up on it, read on it. And that was failed. And the court said, this is not the only reason why this is tanked on D. So I wanted to know, okay, well, did they just miss out on D? Did they follow the right steps on A, B, and C?
And A is, to refresh your memory, has to do with the income tax earmark for education, and the legislature asking to give them more leeway on how they spend our income tax, because so much of it now goes specifically to education. And then Constitutional Amendment B is a companion amendment to A. It says, shall the Utah Constitution be amendment to increase the limit on the annual distributions from the state school fund to public schools from 4% to 5% of the fund? And
now, let me just jump in there because a lot of people don't even realize what Companion B was or what it meant. But there's a $3.3 billion trust that's set aside for education, and every year they get 4% return on that. So it's typically $100 million or so. Well, this would raise it from 4% distribution to a 5% distribution, adding another $15 million that would go directly to Utah schools.
And there has been a challenge to Amendment A. We'll get with Greg Skordas in just a moment on that. Some of the challenge in Amendment A mirrors what was challenged with Amendment D. Amendment C, Greg, good morning, says, shall the Utah Constitution be amended to have the office of county sheriff be elected by voters? And so that would instill in the Constitution that we elect our county sheriffs, and then, for example, mayors, councils couldn't decide that they're going to appoint sheriffs, that we would, as voters, be able to elect our sheriffs. And so that would be embedded into the Constitution. But let's get to that larger question now that we know what these amendments are all about. We've refreshed our memory on them. What does last night's decision by the Utah Supreme Court mean for the future of Amendment A, B, and C?
Right now, the short answer is nothing, because those were not on the table. Those were not issues that were being contemplated by the Supreme Court. Having said that, there is a hearing that was held yesterday, or the day before actually, that also involved Amendment A, and the parties agreed that with respect to Amendment A, they would wait until the Supreme Court issued its opinion and then sort of bootstrap that opinion into what they're going to do. So effectively, I've talked in a circle here already, it's probably going to void Amendment A on the ballot, but that hasn't been decided yet. But it's probably going to because of the stipulation of the parties. With respect to B and C, there's no case in controversy before the court. There's no lawsuit. There's nothing there. So the Supreme Court can only act on cases that are before it. And that was, at the time, Amendment D only. And so I would presume that B and C will still be on the ballot and will not be void.
That is fascinating because theoretically, as we're looking about this, if there is a failure to publish on A and D, B and C are in the exact same violation, but you're telling me that B and C would be left untouched?
Well, yes, Dave, and the reason is because no one has complained about that. No one has said that that's a violation. We know, or we assume that it probably was, but because no one has objected to it or complained about it or petitioned a court to redress that, the courts can't do that. Now, the legislature may do something on its own, but the courts can't because it's not before them. The courts can't be proactive. They can only react to cases that are before them. They can't jump in and say, hey, we're also going to take this case and this case and this case.
So going back to Constitutional Amendment A, shall the Utah Constitution be amended to allow income tax money to be used for all state needs and prioritize public education funding for changes in enrollment and inflation? What you're saying is that because there is a court challenge to that Amendment A, as there was to Amendment D, your legal analysis, Greg, and I know you're not involved in this in any way from an attorney's perspective. You're just offering us your legal analysis that Amendment A could face the same fate as Amendment D faced last night.
Right, because if you recall, Amendment D was argued Tuesday morning before the Utah Supreme Court. Amendment A was argued before the trial court Tuesday afternoon. And before they even started the arguments, the judge said, and the parties agreed, hey, the Supreme Court's considering the exact same questions, the exact same issues that were brought on Amendment A with respect to Amendment D. They said the Supreme Court's going to rule, so why should we argue something when the Supreme Court's going to take it for us? So they said, let's just stand down and agree to wait until the Supreme Court issues its decision on Amendment D, and then that will be what we presume they would have also decided on Amendment A, which means to me, Amendment A is going to be voided on the ballot as well. But that was a stipulation of the parties. It hasn't been confirmed yet, but it almost certainly will be.
Greg, is it too late if someone to step in and say, well, now I want to challenge B and C if we're getting rid of these because of a publication issue, or has that timeline already passed?
Boy, it's never passed, but it seems like nobody's got the appetite to do that. It just doesn't seem like that's going to happen. I would assume that no one's going to because we're at this late stage, and they haven't even filed a case in the trial court, so they would be months away from getting something done. So, I mean, I don't see that happening on B and C.
I'm gonna open up this can of worms because I'm only curious. But if somebody were to go back on other constitutional amendments that have long since passed and determined that there may be a violation of the Constitution and how that got added to the ballot without, for example, publication in newspapers, Greg, would anybody have any standing to retroactively go back and challenge
that's a good
these?
question. Yeah, I mean, they would certainly have standing, but I don't think the Supreme Court's going to entertain something like that retroactively.
Okay.
But what's happened has happened. You had your chance to complain. You had your chance to bring something, and you didn't, and so it's there. And I don't see them revisiting anything like that.
Okay.
This does seem like the first time I've heard the argument that you didn't publish it in a newspaper in all the counties in the state before. Is this unique to you as well?
Yes, it's not something that's been raised before, but it was a novel argument because it's right there in the Constitution that you got to publish. I mean, if you don't complain about something or you don't bring something to the court's attention, then it's as though it didn't occur. That is, that maybe it was published appropriately. But unless a judge can rule on that, there's nothing that can be done about something that's happened in the past. So, yeah, it's a new argument. It's a novel argument, but it's right there in the Constitution, and it worked.
Greg Skordas, thank you so much for joining us, KSL legal analyst. And Debbie, I went to the Lieutenant Governor's website to see when it was published, when these constitutional amendments were published, because the argument was, I know we didn't send it into the newspapers, but we posted it on the LG's website. Well, that post happened on September 9th. The reason that's important is this publishing had to happen 60 days before the election. September 9th is 57 days. So even that portion of the argument that was online on the LG's website still comes up short of that 60 days.
What is the next move for Utah's Capitol Hill, specifically for the legislature? We speak to one lawmaker about this in depth. Senator Todd Weiler calling the show next.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Tim Hughes with a look at some of our top stories this half hour. As Dave and Debbie have been discussing, the Utah Supreme Court has upheld a lower court ruling to void Amendment D from the November ballot. The proposed amendment sought to give lawmakers the power to change citizen-led ballot initiatives. KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas says while the Supreme Court made their decision, their full opinion still to come.
We don't know if they agreed with all of the lower court's decision-making or her processes, but they agreed with her outcome.
The courts ruled the state legislature wrote the question on the ballot in a way that could confuse people, and they didn't publish the amendment in enough newspapers across the state, or at least 2 months before Election Day. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, the number of jobless claims declined last week. It's not what economists expected.
In all, 218,000 first-time claims for unemployment benefits were submitted last week, 4,000 fewer than the revised figure from the week before. It all suggests a low level of layoff activity and could ease concerns about the labor market. The largest increase in claims last week came from Texas, the biggest decline from Massachusetts.
ABC's Jim Ryan reporting. Your money at this moment, the markets have been reacting not just to the jobless claims numbers that Jim was just talking about, but also the GDP numbers that were out earlier this morning. They rallied early, but have settled down a little bit since. The Dow still up 182, about 0.4%. The S&P is up 12, and the Nasdaq, which was up 1.5%, now just up 0.25% with a gain of 45. Coming up, we'll check a very hot forecast. The good news is it'll be short-lived. We've got a cool front that's going to move in here to start next week. KSL News Time, 9:32.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
The Salt Lake Chamber is Utah's voice for business. Okay, that sounds great, but what does it really mean? Well, as Utah's largest and longest-standing business association, they support and champion community prosperity throughout the state. And if you're in business, well, that's a very good thing for you. Be sure to listen to the Chamber's Speaking on Business, weekdays at 7:20, 11:55, and 5:20 p.m. on KSL News Radio.
This is Todd Frayton's heart. He's begun his wellness journey. This is its sound on a treadmill, at a slight incline, on a stroll through the forest. And this is the heart of Maria Sanchez, his physician. What's it doing here? A lot, actually, because when we partner with you, we don't just offer a strategic plan and status updates. We put our hearts into it, beat for beat. We call it the power of we, Intermountain Health. Mom, meet Sarah.
From first-time Nana moments.
And welcome to Flight 101.
To annual girls trip moments. Your can't-miss moments are worth protecting against RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV. And there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com.
So where should we go next?
Sponsored by Pfizer.
This is the story of the one. As a facility technician installing a new welding station, he knows getting the ventilation right is critical for safety. That's why when questions arise, there's Grainger. Grainger offers detailed technical product information online at his fingertips, so it's easy to find what he needs. Because when it comes to safety, having answers means he and his people can breathe a little easier. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
September means it's time for Any Hour Services free furnace sale. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and as summer comes to a close and falls right around the corner, the weather gets, well, perfect. And when the weather's perfect, people need a little extra incentive to replace their heating and cooling system. That's where Any Hour Services free furnace sale comes in. For the month of September, when you have Any Hour Services install a new air conditioner, we'll give you a new furnace for just the cost to install it. About $400. The furnace is free, you just pay the labor. And there's no catch. There's no raising the price on the air conditioner first. There's no making you buy the most expensive air conditioner to qualify. There's none of that. There's just a desire to keep our technicians working while the weather's mild and a genuine appreciation of you for helping us keep them busy. So if you've been thinking about replacing your old furnace and air conditioner and want to know exactly how much you can save during our free furnace sale, call Any Hour Services today and schedule a free estimate. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Let's get that look at traffic and weather together. Brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents a gallon. Mark, how we doing?
Well, it looks like northbound accident still in the clearing stages, Tim. If you're making your way through Utah County, you'll run into the back end of this at 2100 North. It's just between 2100 North and the 92 off-ramp, taking up the left lane there. Traffic is moving by with little or no problems, however. Here in the Salt Lake Valley, most of those early morning delays have cleared out until you hit the downtown area. I-80 through the 600 South off-ramp, a little bit crowded there. Davis County looks great, too. Legacy, it's down to one lane between Centerville and Farmington in both directions, so allow a little extra time there. Live at the Eccles presents Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat in concert featuring Casey Elliott and the One Voice Choir. September 26th to the 28th at the Eccles Theater. Tickets at liveeccles.com. Mark Christiansen in the KSL Traffic Center.
It's going to be summer-like for the next several days. Temperature is going to be in the 90s. 90 today, 92 possible tomorrow. And then we're going to stay right there, 90 to 93 degrees. Could be record highs. We'll see if we actually get there through Sunday, and then things cool off to start the week down into the lower 80s. Right now in Salt Lake City, 75 degrees from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. I'm Tim Hughes. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
In a moment, we're going to speak live with Utah State Senator Todd Weiler about the Utah Supreme Court ruling last night on Amendment D. It's voided. It's the amendment that has to do with the initiatives. The legislature, two legislative leaders have issued a statement as well. It's a written statement. I'm going to read it to you, Dave, calling the court's action unprecedented and troubling, saying the legislature offered the court a way to preserve the voting rights of all Utahns, but instead the court took the chance to vote on Amendment D out of the voters' hands. Calling it a sad day for Utah and voters, whether for or against the constitutional amendment that was sent to us from President of the Senate, Stuart Adams, and also House Speaker Mike Schultz.
And I will agree with President Adams and Speaker Schultz. I would have liked to have voted on this. I would like to have seen how Utah votes on these things. I think these are important topics, and we should address them. So I am disappointed on that side. I also want to address the point where they say the court made an unprecedented and troubling ruling. I will say this. Let's set aside the publishing aspect of it. They didn't like the way these things were worded. Well, that's tricky because if they don't like the way it's worded, now do we have to submit it to the courts and say, hey, do you like the way we worded it here? What words can I use? What can I use? What's pushing too far? What's not giving enough information? I think that would be very, very tricky now that you've opened up the can of saying, hey, this is the way we worded it. Do you like it?
State Senator Todd Weiler, what was your reaction when the ruling came out last night from the Utah Supreme Court that Amendment D is voided?
Well, I was disappointed but not surprised. And let's be honest, the legislature, we screwed up. We should have published it in newspapers 60 days before the election, and we didn't. And that's on us. That's not the Supreme Court's fault. Now, I think there was an argument there that other states have said, hey, you know, there was no internet in 1900 or 1800, and so, you know, you can publish it, you know, through the internet. You don't have to do newspapers, which, you know, a lot of newspapers have closed down in the last 10, 20 years. And so I thought there was an argument there. To Dave's point, I just want to be clear, the Supreme Court did not say or suggest that Amendment A was worded improperly. The argument was that Amendment D was, and everything in Amendment D was accurate. It did strengthen, it would have strengthened the initiative process by adding more days to collect signatures and by banning foreign money. I think the problem that people had is it also weakened the initiative process in only initiatives that were designed to alter or reform government, and that weakened part was left out. Everything that was in the description was accurate, but then it didn't have a sentence, instead it also weakens it in this respect. But yeah, I wish the voters could have voted on this, but it looks like on the initial decision, which is not the full decision, the Supreme Court led with the fact that this wasn't published in all 29 counties and newspapers. And so that's on us. That's not their fault. That's our fault.
And is that just an administrative oversight? Is this something that you have done in the past in the legislature with past votes?
Well,
I've never even thought about it.
Yeah, I hate to admit this, but I think all of us, staff included at the legislature, were more geared towards looking at the statutes rather than the Constitution, because usually the specificity, the more specific language is in the statutes or even administrative code. And in this instance, the statute got amended a few years ago on the publication, but the Constitution obviously didn't. And so I think everyone was looking at the statute saying, okay, we've complied. And then, you know, it took a lawsuit to say, oh, wait a second, go back to 1896 and you have this in that. And, you know, I was a little disappointed because in their decision in July on redistricting, they said the Supreme Court, they spent 30 pages talking about what is the word alter and reform government. What did that mean in 1900, 1904? I wish they would have done the same thing with what does the word publish mean in 1900 or 1904, because I think if they would have focused on that analysis, the internet publication would have sufficed. But they didn't do that, and that's their prerogative.
Well, I want to just camp on that for just a moment, because there is maybe an argument to be made that it's easier nowadays to publish amendments in newspapers. I was just clicking around last night on the internet to see if there was an easy resource to locate newspapers throughout the state. And in fact, there is. There's an interactive map for each county.
Yeah.
You click on that and it provides, I saw a lot of phone numbers and stuff for each newspaper. And a lot of these are not newspapers that we probably have heard of,
Sure.
in smaller communities. But to publish it in newspapers, if it was an oversight of the not reading the Utah Constitution in this case and seeing that in the Constitution, then I suppose you don't know what you don't know, and you just go forward with publishing it on the Lieutenant Governor's website. So,
and I've got a little secret for you guys. I don't think the constitutional amendments that have appeared on the ballot before this year for like the last 4 years or so, I don't think those were published in newspapers, and those went through, and some, many of them passed. The difference was nobody sued and asked for an injunction. But
Well,
I mean, the issue is this hasn't been practiced for a while.
Well, and it looks like constitutional amendment A, B, and C would all fall under the same problems of not being published in time. A, obviously.
I would guess so, but nobody's suing on B and C.
So B and C are just going to pass, or are they're going to be voted on?
Yeah, well, all four will be voted on. They're not going to count the votes on D, and I don't believe they'll count the votes on A. The district court judge said, well, if the Supreme Court does this on D, then I'll do that as well. So my guess is, unless someone runs out and files a lawsuit against the sheriffs, that the votes for B and C will be counted.
So final question, Todd. What is the next move for Capitol Hill for Utah lawmakers? Are you hearing any inside information you can share with us?
Well, so A had to deal with cutting the sales tax on food and giving us more flexibility in the budget. We want to cut the sales tax on food. The only way we can do that if we get that flexibility. I don't say that. That's not posturing. That's just a reality. And so I think A will come back in some form in 2026. And D is still important because we don't want to become California. We don't want to have 12 ballot propositions every 2 years. And the reason we rushed this, and we've been criticized for rushing it, and the criticism's fair, but the reason we rushed it was we wanted to vote on it this year on Amendment D rather than voting on it in 2026 when there might be 6 ballot propositions with that. And then you'd have all these people that spent millions of dollars on their ballot propositions saying, hey, this isn't fair. They're changing rules in the middle of the game. But I think D will come back as well because it's that important of an issue.
Senator Todd Weiler, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Senator, for sharing your insights on this and a lot of new information as well about it. So straight ahead, we're going to dive into a new report on the first assassination attempt of former President Trump at that rally in Pennsylvania, where the gunman easily gained access and a line of sight to the former president. One U.S. Senator, Dave, comparing the Secret Service failures to that old Abbott and Costello's routine. Who's on first?
Well, then who's playing first?
Yeah.
I mean, the fellow's name on first base.
Who?
The fellow playing first base for St. Louis.
Who?
The guy on first base.
Who is on first?
Well, what are you asking me for?
I'm not asking you.
I was reading through the report.
I'm asking you.
I couldn't believe what I was reading. That's next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
At KSL News Radio, we have a 30-year legacy of honoring Utah teachers, but we can't do it without your help. Please tell us about an important teacher in your life on the KSL Teacher Tribute Wall, presented by Cypress Credit Union. Each month, one lucky teacher wins a $500 gift card from Cypress Credit Union, a $250 gift card to Harmon's, plus season tickets to Hale Center Theater. Say thanks to your teacher today at kslnewsradio.com/teacher from Cypress Credit Union and KSL News Radio.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. Did you know that we offer 3 distinct styles of gutter protection? Each one meant to handle a specific leaf problem. You might not even know there are different styles of gutter protection, but there are. And if you pick the wrong one, it could be a huge waste of money. Now, the big gutter guard companies won't tell you this. They try to sell you a one-size-fits-all gutter guard. And it could be completely wrong for the amount and types of trees and leaves you have. Not RGS Exteriors. We understand which kind of leaf problem needs which kind of gutter guard. We'll do an in-depth evaluation to assess the types, locations, and numbers of trees in your yard. Based on that data, we match your home to the right gutter guard. So don't risk wasting money on the wrong gutter protection. For a free evaluation and estimate, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's 801-280-3110 or rgsexteriors.com.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
My wife and I always loved doing everything together. Jiu-jitsu, kayaking, and intimacy was always on point. It was around my early 30s when I noticed a downward trend. Watching a lot of TV, putting on weight, and just full of self-doubt. I tried another men's clinic with disappointing results. It's the personalized treatment I receive at Revive Men's Health that has been the complete game changer for me. I've got my energy and motivation back. I'm feeling stronger than I did in my 20s, and it made me a much better husband to my wife.
I'm Eric Ramos, healthcare provider at Revive Men's Health. If you are always feeling tired or moody, have a difficult time sleeping, or decreased libido, you may be suffering from low testosterone.
Book your free T-check and exam at Revive Men's Health Salt Lake City. Call 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Exciting news! Master Electrical Services has joined Mountain Home Services.
Hi, it's Julie, inviting you to come to Logan for Funky Fall Fun. Let me tell you about 2 huge festivals in one weekend, September 27th and 28th. Bring your whole herd to the Cache Valley Cheese and Dairy Festival Friday and Saturday. Free samples, live music, kids activities, food trucks, and a tri-tip dinner Friday night. Workshops on gourmet cheese tasting and chocolate tasting, making charcuterie boards, how to crack a giant wheel of cheese, and more. Saturday only is the 2nd Annual Center Street Giant Pumpkin Festival. These ain't your mama's pumpkins. They tip the scales at more than 1,600 pounds. Watch professional carvers whittle away 300-pound pumpkins. Family scavenger hunt, activities for kids, pumpkin and harvest-featured foods, a beer garden. Music, dancing, more than 100 vendors and more. The drive is gorgeous and the temperatures are perfect. Get a hotel and get moving to Logan for Funky Fall Fun. ExploreLogan.com/fall. ExploreLogan.com/fall.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First 10 people have now died after consuming boar's head products linked to a listeria outbreak. Second, the task force looking into the first assassination attempt on former President Trump is suggesting the safety failure was with Secret Service, not local police. And third, Utah state officials telling students to be on alert after a woman reported being sexually assaulted at knife point close to campus. Going to be hot today. We're going to top out at 90 degrees, and right now in Salt Lake City, it's 70 as we get you back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave, and Dujanovic.
Okay, if you're a little older like I am, you remember this routine, right? Who's on first? That comedy duo, Abbott and Costello.
Well, then who's playing first? Yeah. I mean, the fellow's name on first base. Who? The fellow playing first base for St. Louis.
Who?
The guy on first base.
Who is on first?
Well, what are you asking me for?
I'm not asking you, I'm telling you, who is on first?
I'm asking you who's on first.
It's super funny and clever, but when it is couched in a way that that's what the Secret Service seemed like, the comedy routine of who's on first during that July rally where the President Trump almost lost his life, it's scary. And this new report that was released this week regarding the Secret Service failures in July at that rally was stunning to me.
I will say chilling. It was chilling to hear the Abbott and Costello description and to really think about it and how accurate it is. Hey, who's on the rooftop? I don't know who's on the rooftop. Oh, yeah, I thought who's on the rooftop. It plays so well because it was such a catastrophic failure for the Secret Service.
And it was Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut. He's leading a subcommittee investigation into this, and he's the one. It said it was almost like an Abbott Costello farce with who's on first, finger pointing by all of the different actors. Now, what's been happening behind the scenes and publicly on Capitol Hill back in Washington, D.C., is that they've been doing interviews. They've been gathering evidence about what went wrong at that rally in Pennsylvania where former President Trump almost lost his life. I mean, his ear, a bullet pierced his ear. Had he not turned his head in the right moment to look at a cue card or look at some information that they had near the podium for him to reference, who knows what would have happened. And remember, a gunman had been loitering, lingering, suspiciously walking around the facility, the rally point, where 15,000 people were set to gather, for quite some time. He was acting suspiciously, yet he was still able to gain pretty much unfettered access to that rooftop.
And when you talk about the suspiciousness of the suspect, of the would-be assassin. That is exactly what the Secret Service is looking for. They have been trained to look for people that are not acting normally. And if you're running around with a rangefinder and you're not on a golf course, that is the very definition in my book of suspicious.
So I want to highlight some of the big takeaways for me. I like the word you chose, chilling takeaways, Dave, about this latest report that was issued this week. There will be more, but this gives us a really clear view of the failures. So the first, I'm going to reference the CNN article. A number of news organizations have done stories on it, but this is the one that I grabbed. Nobody was in charge. There was no decision-making process. So Secret Service, federal, state, local law enforcement only had 2 official meetings ahead of that July 13th rally. And the interactions prior to the event were described as informal. There were decisions that fell through the cracks, including whether to put rental trucks around the rally site to obstruct the line of sight to the former president. How easy would that have been?
So easy. And you could have put him under a tent or put up a barrier. That is used all the time, where a president will get out of the motorcade and they walk under a tent instead of being wide open. JFK was in a convertible, and now presidents don't run around in convertibles because you can do these simple things to obscure the sight.
Or put up glass around the podium to protect a president or a campaigning candidate. The other thing that stood out to me in this report is that there was no specific agency in charge of securing that building where the shooter accessed and was able to fire from. No specific agency. And here's what went down, according to this report. There was a police officer with the Butler County Emergency Services Unit who has told lawmakers that 2 days before the rally, he told the Secret Service site agent that his team did not have the manpower to lock down the area. And then the police officer said that that agent copied that they would take care of it. So it was back on the Secret Service to make sure that building was secured. And we know from what we've heard, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. And you and I have looked at aerial views. We've seen video of this. This is the most obvious spot of the entire area of where a sniper could hide out. It is the very top spot that you would identify. So to miss this isn't half a mile out away, obscured by trees. This is the most obvious spot there is. So to say it's an oversight this is Secret Servicing 101.
Then the no radios. The no radios. So there was a lack of communication between the Secret Service and the locals. According to the report, several Secret Service agents had issues with their own radios that day and told the committee that was hearing this that those issues were common, and that the other issue is that agents did not stop by and pick up the local police department's radios so they can communicate back and forth before the rally.
And the reason this is so crucial is because there was a local police officer that saw the gunman. He pulled himself up. You call it Spider-Man style. He pulled himself up onto the roof, saw the gunman. The gunman turns his rifle and points it at the local police officer. The local police officer drops to the ground. Had they radios, if they had a channel where they could say gun and everybody goes into panic mode, but that didn't happen. In fact, between the time that the officer saw the gunman, was confronted by the gunman, he drops, he is able to run around the entire building, and then about 30 seconds after the encounter, that's when he starts firing on President Trump. Plenty of time. if they had radios, if they had some sort of communication device where they could have alerted that shot doesn't even go off if they had the radios.
And then there's the drone drama. The agency had very little time, less than an hour of total training on the system, and even had to replace an Ethernet cable that he found on Trump's campaign equipment to make the agency's drone, work that day. So he had less than an hour of training, and he had to grab an Ethernet cable from the Trump campaign to make the drone work. Had that drone been up and flying around, what are the chances they would have spotted the gunman?
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. The Utah Supreme Court has ruled that Amendment D is void on this November's ballot. The proposal sought to give lawmakers the power to change citizen-led initiatives. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has details.
The state Supreme Court sided with the lower court that initially voided Amendment D from the ballot. They ruled the state legislature failed to meet a constitutional requirement to post the amendment in a newspaper in every county of the state that has a local paper 2 months before the election. The court also ruled lawmakers wrote the ballot question in a way that could confuse voters.
The question did make it on the ballot by the time they were printed, but any votes now toward or against it will not be counted. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The mayor of New York City has been indicted on federal corruption charges. The accusations date back to Eric Adams' time as Brooklyn's borough president. Some members of his own party are calling on Adams to resign. The mayor insists he's going to stay in office. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up today, 262 points in the green, and the NASDAQ also up by about 105 points right now. And our KSL weather, sunny with temps in the 90s. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Hey, pet parents. With Progressive's collision coverage, you get extra protection for your cat or dog, because there's nothing worse than seeing your pet hurt. Like when you see their face after accidentally stepping on their tail, and you say, "I'm so sorry, Mr. Pickles." But as you kiss his nose and rub his little belly welly, you know Mr. Pickles is thinking, "You betrayed me." Anywho, Progressive pays up to $1,000 in vet bills if your pet is injured in an auto accident. Learn more at Progressive.com and watch where you step. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Collision coverage subject to policy terms. Not available in all states.
Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy is a serious heart condition. Some symptoms include being short of breath, feeling tired, or having dizziness or chest pain. My HCM impacted how I felt and what I could do. So I asked my cardiologist about treatment advances that gave me new options. That conversation was big for me. That's why I'm working with Bristol Myers Squibb to raise awareness about HCM and to help others like me. Talk to your cardiologist today and visit hcmrealtalk.com to learn more.
Sponsored by Bristol Myers Squibb.
If you need a new roof, there's a reason IWC Roofing is the #1 residential roofing contractor in Utah. IWC has been replacing roofs for 27 years. They are professionals. You don't get some janky subcontractor fiddling around up there. You get experienced IWC employees on your roof, and they finish most jobs in a single day. They're in, they're out, and they power wash your driveway just to say thank you. Now you're wondering about the price. After all, IWC is one of the few Owens Corning Platinum certified contractors in the entire state, but they offer value pricing, and right now, take advantage of their fall special. $2,000 off your quote. And of course, they'll work with you on financing. So call IWC Roofing, the highest rated roofing contractor in Utah, plus $2,000 off. Right now, call IWC Roofing, 801-232-5690. That's 801-232-5690, or go to IWCRoofingUtah.com.
Jeff Kaplan. When you're online, that's sometimes a source of fourth-hand information. Somebody does the reporting. Another website Googles, they find it, they rewrite it, and by the time you read it, you know the old game telephone. But KSL is a source of primary information. We have reporters on the street. They're out in the field finding out the details. And the difference between online and KSL News Radio, night and day.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Mark Christiansen.
Nice day to be out traveling on the highways of this great state of ours. Here in Salt Lake City, northbound I-15, a little bit sluggish between 13 South and the off-ramps downtown. Other than that, it's a clear shot from the point of the mountain through the downtown area. Southbound 15 looks great too. Westbound on the 201 freeway, a few brake lights right around the 3200 construction zone there. No major problems on the east or west side belt routes. Davis and Utah County both in great shape as well. Mark Christiansen in the KSL Traffic Center.
Looks like sunny skies through Sunday with highs in the 90s, and right now we're at 79 degrees with partly cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Senator Bernie Sanders talking about weight loss drugs and the price that's being charged for these newer injectable weight loss drugs, saying, stop ripping us off.
The United States is Novo Nordisk's cash cow for Ozempic and Wegovy. All we are saying, Mr. Jorgensen, is treat the American people the same way that you treat people all over the world. Stop ripping us off.
Stop ripping us off. It's a powerful statement by Senator Bernie Sanders, and I will say this though, I have big love in my heart for big pharma. I know that's kind of an unpopular thing because we've all been bitten by drugs, but I have family members that have very rare or specific struggles with health that have been helped with very specific drugs from big pharma. And so I'm so grateful that they spend billions and billions of dollars developing new drugs that help us. And let's be honest, aren't we all pretty excited that there's a weight loss drug, a pill or an injection you can take that can help you lose weight? That's a good thing. Now, getting gouged is the point they're trying to make. Not that these drugs shouldn't be making money. It's just that you got to charge us all, in the ballpark of the same amount, right?
In a moment, I'm going to tell you the pricing here in the United States for a 1 month supply of Wegovy, according to ABC News article. There's been testimony in Washington, D.C. about this week, and Dave and I are going to take a deep dive into the different pricing. So I'm going to compare the cost here to Canada, which is much cheaper, but you're not going to believe how little they pay for this in Germany. U.S. Senator Mitt Romney, of course, representing Utah, also asking the head of Novo Nordisk, the CEO Lars Jorgensen, what in the world is going on with the pricing?
I don't understand why the price should be different. If the French and the Germans and the Canadians honor our patents, would the companies not be free then to charge the same price there that they charge here? Why charge a lower price there? Why are we so out of line with the rest of the world in terms of the pricing?
Now, that is inexcusable. Now, there are other countries that have a healthcare system that subsidizes a lot of this. And a lot of those countries that Senator Romney had mentioned, they do have universal health care, and it is subsidized. Much of the healthcare system is subsidized anyway. But it still doesn't explain the price differential.
It's huge, though, Dave. The price difference is huge. And let me just lay it out for you so you know exactly what I'm talking about here and how to react. So when you look at, I'll just take Wegovy because that's the Ozempic, right, version of the weight loss. So Ozempic would be for diabetes.
Yes. And
then Wegovy, which is the companion, would be for weight loss. The price in the United States for Wegovy, it comes in at $1,350 a month. Right.
Wow.
If you went to Canada, if you lived in Canada, if you got it in Canada, it would be $265 a month. So that's like $1,100 cheaper in Canada.
How much was it in Canada?
$265 a month, compared to about $1,350 a month in the United States.
If you're looking at the costs over a year, the difference is $3,000 a year in Canada or $15,000 here. Mm-hmm. It's 5 times more expensive.
Now I want to fly us over to Germany, where it would be $137 a month. That's less than like a trip to Costco, right?
It's half the cost of Canada, which is 5 times cheaper than us.
So the CEO of Novo Nordisk told the committee that we have no one to blame but ourselves here in the United States.
It is clear that patients too often struggle to navigate the complex U.S. healthcare system. It is also clear that no single company alone can solve such vast and complicated policy challenges.
Yeah, saying something along the lines of there's so much red tape here, and then there's this middlewoman, a pharmacy benefits manager that they're trying to negotiate with that is ultimately what's keeping the price so high in the United States compared to other countries. Now, I don't know if that's the only reason why, but this is one of the reasons that was offered up. It's our healthcare system.
I remember when Representative Paul Ray was up at the Utah State Legislature, and he addressed this specific problem in regards to insulin and the pharmacy benefits manager, the PBM, and he actually sponsored and passed a law that required the PBMs, the pharmacy benefits manager, to take any rebate that was offered from the pharmaceutical companies and pass that directly on to the consumer. Now you might think, well, that's obvious. Of course, any rebate would go to you, the consumer, right? No, that is not what was happening. What was happening is the PBMs were taking that rebate and keeping it for their own profits. So Representative Ray pushed the law through that said, no. You're going to get the rebate if there is one that is being offered. The consumer is going to get the rebate. And that is, when I hear these PBMs, at the heart of the problem with Ozempic and weight loss drugs, I want to know exactly what they are doing and why they are keeping prices high. Because that's what they're being blamed for.
Now, there are lots of different ways to lose weight. You know, you've talked about a program that you're on. You talk about that frequently. Boyd's talked about the program that he's on. People have used Weight Watchers. They've used exercise. People can use all kinds of different options, not just this one. When you look at the statistics in America, that according to the CDC, between like 2017 and 2020, more than 100 million American adults are considered obese.
Almost a third. Oh, just adults?
Adults are considered obese. which is defined as a body mass index of 30 or higher. I'm not really good at understanding what BMI is and how that factors into. But when you look at that number alone, and then you tell me $15,000 a year for somebody, now you might be able to get it cheaper somewhere else or whatever, but $1,350 a month, $15,000 a year to use Wegovy, according to the what we're hearing out of Washington, D.C., and yet it's $137 a month or something like that in Germany.
Yeah.
How doesn't that take that option off the table, so to speak, for so many Americans because it's simply unaffordable for them?
I can speak to my case specifically. I looked into this drug, Wegovy. I talked with my doctor about it. He advised me, and he said, okay, it's going to be kind of expensive. So I called and found out. And because it was so expensive, and it wasn't $1,300 a month, but it was, I think, $800 a month, it's why I didn't start it. I wanted to lose weight. I was interested by this, but it was too expensive. So I chose not to do the injections. I ended up doing something else, a different program, which, I've talked about a lot on this show. But it was the price point that drove me away. It wasn't fear of needles. It was straight up 100% the price point.
I want to hear from our listeners. What do you do to afford medications? There's websites that offer less expensive pricing. We know from our reporting in the past that some people go outside the United States to order their drugs, or they actually go to another country to get their pharmaceuticals. What do you do? 801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK. I want to hear from you next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
Many people worry they're not making the right investment choices inside their 401ks. Did you know that you might have a little-known opportunity to add some additional investment choices to your 401k and get the help and recommendations you've been looking for? This exciting feature is called a self-directed brokerage window. And the best part? The money still stays within your 401k. Learn how the trusted advisors at Capital Wealth may be able to expand your investment portfolio. To learn more, call or text the word VISIT to 801-877-9800 or go to CapitalWealth401k.com. Improving your 401k might mean the difference of retiring a few years earlier. Let's find out. Schedule your no-cost 15-minute consultation with the Capital Wealth team today. Call or text the word VISIT to 801-877-9800 or go to CapitalWealth401k.com. Advisory services offered through Capital Wealth Advisors, LLC, a state of Utah registered investment advisor.
Next Saturday, it's the fall return of General Conference. KSL is pleased to broadcast live the 194th Semi-Annual General Conference of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Coverage starts both Saturday and Sunday at 9:30. We invite you to join us at 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and streaming live on the app for KSL News Radio.
Hi, I'm Nate Orchard, the mayor of Sac Lake City with Advanced Window Products.
And I'm Jake, the other guy. Are your windows old and inefficient and driving up your energy bills?
It's time for an upgrade. Our energy-efficient windows not only look great, but also help you save on your utility bills.
And right now, we're offering an incredible deal. $2,500 off when you purchase 10 windows or more.
That's right, $2,500 in savings to make your home more comfortable and energy efficient.
Plus, we offer a lifetime warranty on all our windows, so you can have peace of mind.
Don't wait. Call us today at 801-850-9100 or visit us at advancedwindows.com to schedule your free estimate. We also offer payment plans as low as $150 a month.
From our factory to your installation in 8 weeks or less. Call us today at 801-850-9100 or visit us at advancedwindows.com to schedule your free estimate.
Advanced Window Products, Utah's window experts.
Trail mix, beef jerky, mixing all the soda flavors at the gas station soda machine. Snacks are better on the road. The gas is better when it's top tier. And the pit stop is better when there's a dinosaur there. Love the filler moments at a Sinclair gas station near you with DinoCare, our top-tier gasoline. Some sweet and salty snacks for the commute, and a big green dino for the memories. Find a gas station near you at sinclairoil.com. Sinclair, fill up your life.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
Mom, meet Sarah.
From first-time Nana moments.
Yeah, welcome to Flight 101.
To annual girls trip moments. Your can't-miss moments are worth protecting against RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV. And there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com.
So where should we go next?
Sponsored by Pfizer.
At the UPS Store, we understand the importance of a first impression. That's why we're here to help you put your best foot forward and be unstoppable with our printing services. With high-quality paper stock options, banners, business cards, menus, and more, we make sure your small business stands out and your message reaches the masses. After all, we're the one-stop prints that pop store. Most locations are independently owned. Product, services, prices, and hours of operation may vary. See Center for details. The UPS Store. Be unstoppable. Come into your local store today and get your print on.
Tim and Amanda.
One of the big differences, I think, between reading a story online and hearing it from us, Tim, is that, you and I are allowed to share a reaction. We need to be able to say, what in the world were they thinking? So that people listening will know. We feel it too. When we read a story that sounds ridiculous, we're right with you. It sounds ridiculous.
Well, we get caught up, I'm sure just like our listeners do sometimes, in death scrolling on social media. And fact-checking it on your own is tough. The great thing about tuning in every morning and starting your morning with us on KSL is you can count on the fact that when that information comes out of the radio in your direction, it comes from reliable sources.
It's already been fact-checked.
Right. And that's not always easy when you're getting it online. Finding who wrote it, when was it written, has it been updated with the current facts of the day that change sometimes minute to minute, not just day to day.
Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, Amendment D will be on Utah's fall ballot, but the state Supreme Court has decided that votes on that issue won't count. Second, the mayor of New York facing calls to step down after he was indicted on federal corruption charges. And third, the last week of September turning out to be pretty warm for autumn. 79 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, in light of the maker of Wegovy, which is the weight loss drug, one of many that is kind of the rage right now, the injections, being grilled in D.C. on why it's $1,350 a month, the list price for Wegovy in the United States, compared to like $137 a month is what patients pay in Germany. We wondered, what do you do to reduce the price of your pharmaceuticals? Some people we've heard, go to other countries. Some people go online. 801-575-TALK. Share your stories.
There's a few things here that I find super interesting. Number one, we're already starting to see more competition in the weight loss drug pharmaceutical category, right? We've got Wegovy, we've got Mounjaro, we got semaglutide. A lot of these drugs are very similar with what they do. And if you're wondering what they do, Debbie, you and I did a special on this talking about weight loss drugs. I wonder if there'd be some benefit to just kind of walking people through why it works and how it works.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. So basically what it's an injectable, you inject what was once a week. And what it will do is it will take away your food cravings. It'll make you feel fuller longer, which we learned means, patients are told you don't need to eat as much. And you also need to consume healthy foods, because what you don't want to do is have it work against your insulin.
Yeah, you can sabotage it by still eating poorly.
So you're eating, chicken instead of that 7,500-ounce steak, which is so good, right? But you're eating chicken instead of steak. You're eating maybe a sweet potato instead of a russet potato. And you're eating kind of like half as much, if that, because you just feel full and you feel full longer. But it also takes away, remember we talked about this, the craving for food.
The food noise.
If you're the snacky kind, like I am, it's like I'm driving home. I'm like, oh, when can I put my face in that bag of pretzels when I get home? It takes away that food noise. And we've talked to people who've used it, and they say that's absolutely what happens, is that it frees the food noise from their brain. So you had another point to why it's so important to bring down the cost in the United States from an average of $1,350 a month to something that's more in line with what the rest of the world is paying. It's $265 a month in Canada. It's $137 a month in Germany, because you spotted a study about how this could help people who are addicted to drugs.
Yes, this was fascinating. I found this in Science News, and it was talking about Ozempic and Wegovy, that people using some sort of semaglutide medication were 1/3 to 1/2 as likely to overdose on opioids. And the explanation behind that is very similar to how you were describing how these drugs will help tone down, turn the volume down on food. It does the same thing for drugs, so people won't overuse them as much, they found.
But drug addicts couldn't afford $1,000 more a month.
And that's what's so interesting about the price of these drugs, and I think why it's so important for Congress and everyone to look at this and figure out what is going on, because we're starting to find out. Ozempic originally was just a diabetic drug. It was to help diabetics control their blood sugar, and the side effect they found, because Ozempic's been around for years and years, what they found was the side effect was helping people lose weight. So then they tailored it and tweaked it a little bit to make Wegovy, and Wegovy is specifically for weight loss. But again, they're finding more and more that these side effects have multiple uses, which is very common amongst drugs. You'll find one that was intended for asthma, but it helps eczema. And what they're finding is that some of these drugs, initially, the studies have found that it doesn't just help you lose weight, but it can also help you if you are dealing with addiction to drugs.
Have you ever shopped out of the country for anything that's, like a pharmaceutical type drug?
Never.
I'm just looking at the different prices for Wegovy in other countries. I'm wondering if you've never gone to Canada. I don't advocate for this at all, because I just don't know what the landscape is now. We do know that there's certainly probably dangerous areas. We've reported on that at the southern border. But I worked in Yuma, right on the southern border, and we covered stories in Mexico. So I was in Mexico quite a bit back in the early 1990s. Back and forth. I mean, it was almost a daily thing. It was either Mexicali or Calexico we were going into, even on weekends sometimes. So I was broke as broke could be, and I got sick, which is like worst case scenario, and I don't remember what I had, but I remember my throat was so sore I could hardly talk. So
you self-diagnosed?
I didn't have enough money to go to the doctor.
Okay.
I was making $10,000 a year, and my rent was more than half of that. So when we were in Mexico one day, I bought some pharmaceuticals there, and that was the first and probably the only time. I mean, I was really healthy back then, that I didn't need to go to the doctor a lot anyway. Thank goodness, because I wouldn't have been able to afford it. But I bought some antibiotics there, and it was fine. It was fine. I never advocate for that. I mean, if my kids told me now, or if I told them, that's what I'm doing, I'd be like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
We're not doing that. But here's what I do instead. I've used GoodRx. I've shopped Mark Cuban's Cost Plus Drugs, and I have saved money because, as I've said on this show many times, in fact, I just had a checkup yesterday. Everything looks good. I've had glaucoma since I was 29 years old, especially my right eye. It's been a bear. So doctors have been trying to save my eyesight for almost 30 years, in my right eye particularly. But things look really good there. And it was just costing me a little bit of money every month that I was, you're on a drug. You're on drug. Actually, it's multiple eye drops. I'm on drugs for my eye drops for almost 30 years. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for ways to cut corners and get the same prescription eye drops that I need and save some money from the pharmacy. And I would save a significant amount of money. And I also noticed that the bottles were bigger. So not only was the price cheaper, but I was getting more of the eye drop, at least for one of the brands that I needed. So it lasted me longer. So it was like when I opened the package, I was running around the house, jumping up and down. I was like, oh my, because when you spend that much money every single month trying to save your eyesight for 30 years, it's a good thing when you can save. You can pay like a quarter the price or a half price or 75% of the price.
And if you're wondering, well, why don't we just buy these drugs from Canada? Why don't we just buy them from Germany? Well, in most circumstances, it is illegal for individuals to import FDA-approved drugs from other countries for personal use. So that's why Congress is talking about this specifically.
So when I did that, it was 34 years ago. Statutes
out.
And I'm sure I stayed in Mexico to take the antibiotics.
Sure you did. I'm sure you did.
Well, I think it just shows you that sometimes you just got to do what you got to do to keep yourself healthy. But I found the better route now is going through these websites that are approved, like the GoodRx website and Mark Cuban's Cost Plus Drugs website. They don't always have all of the prescriptions that I've needed, but when they do, I like the aspect of price shopping and saving myself some money.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. Going to feel unseasonably warm for the next few days with highs in the 90s. Salt Lake City looking at a high of 90 degrees today.
If we hit 90 today, at least at the airport, that would tie the previous record high. I think most locations will be in the upper 80s today.
KSL meteorologist Devin Mashuli says we're looking at 90 as a projected high again tomorrow, then 93 Saturday, 92 on Sunday, and both of those would break records. The good news is highs expected to drop back down into the low 80s by Monday. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The nation's gross domestic product grew by 3% in the second quarter of the year, faster pace than analysts had expected. The growth also notable looking back at the pandemic, showing a 5.5% second quarter increase from 2020 through 2023. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day now, 235 points. The NASDAQ is up by 50. And our KSL weather. Sunny and warm, a high 90 today. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:31.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the nines, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Hey, you may not know a lot about soft water or hard water. That's why you can go to softwater.com and learn a lot about soft water and why Utah has some of the hardest water in the entire country. Now, I've had soft water in my house for years from Connecticut of Utah. I had them come out to our house and walk us through the importance of having soft water in our home because especially here in Utah, obviously desert, so dry, we really struggle with dry skin in our family. And they talked about how soft water can really hydrate and help your skin stay healthy and soft where you don't need to bathe in lotion, even after a shower. And we have just loved it. We've loved having our Kinetico water softener. And if you're wondering, well, yeah, Dave, you love it because they gave you a free one. No, I paid for it just like you guys did. No discounts, same price. So when I talk about soft water and how great the Kinetico soft water system is, I mean it. It's been wonderful for us. If you're interested, go ahead and give Kinetico of Utah a call, 801-576-8600. They're an authorized Kinetico dealer. That's 801-576-8600.
Copiers, printers, service, and supplies are just the beginning. Les Olson IT is the premier source for your business's structured cabling, IT, software, telephones, and security systems. We partner with you to find the ideal solution to all of your office technology needs. Tell us your goals and we'll get you there. Find out more at lesolson.com.
Les Olson IT.
The Salt Lake Chamber is Utah's voice for business. Okay, that sounds great, but what does it really mean? Well, as Utah's largest and longest standing business association, they support and champion community prosperity throughout the state. And if you're in business, well, that's a very good thing for you. Be sure to listen to the Chamber's Speaking on Business, weekdays at 7:20, 11:55, and 5:20 p.m. on KSL News Radio.
It's hard to believe that it was exactly 1 year ago that I started my health journey with the help and guidance of my friends at Soda Weight Loss. I'd recently been diagnosed as diabetic. I was tired a lot, had severe sleep apnea. I knew something had to change. But over the next 5 months, I let go of 70 pounds of fat weight, dropped from a size 42 waist to a size 34, cut my A1C in half, and my sleep apnea lessened to mild. Best of all, I did it without drugs, pills, injections, or crazy side effects. That's because I had help every step of the way from a nutritionist like Rebecca.
I'd recommend it to anyone who is just at that point where they're frustrated and they need guidance, because they will get that here, and they'll have a full team of nutritionists that are dedicated in truly teaching them how to eat better so they can live a longer, healthier life and be there for their families.
Please see the results for yourself. Go to sodaweightloss.com and then click Request a Nutritionist Callback. It's that easy. Get started now and look great for the holidays by going to sotaweightloss.com, because soda is state of the art.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Mark Christiansen.
Well, there was an earlier accident eastbound on the 201 just at 3200 West there as you try and get off the freeway. They have moved that off the freeway now, but there's a little bit of backing for about half a block, 2 blocks, or 3 blocks or so up until that. Just be ready for it as you make that transition through there. Doesn't look like any problems on I-15 here, north or southbound through the Salt Lake Valley. Davis County in clear shape. Eastbound I-80 from Parley's Canyon to the Summit in great shape. And the reverse also coming into the valley looks well also. No major problems on the 215. Mark Christiansen in the KSL Traffic Center.
It'll be sunny through Saturday with highs in the 90s, and right now we're at 80 degrees with Sunday skies. I'm Dan Bonas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Oh.
Does that make your heart flutter?
Flutter?
Do you love it?
No.
Do you feel
My
nostalgic?
anxiety just welled up. Your loved one's getting married. Maybe it's your son, it's your daughter. And along with the excitement for them comes sticker shock. If you are a member of the bridal party, by the way, this sticker shock can send you running for a bank loan. So we're going to talk about that. Why about half of Americans hope, maybe they even pray, that the bridal party doesn't invite them because of the cost.
Isn't that kind of hilarious? Mm-hmm. You're like, don't be the best man, don't be the best man, don't be the best man. Like, that should be an honor. That should be something that you look forward to. You would love to be the best man or the maid of honor, and secretly they're like, please don't pick me. Please don't pick. Don't put me in the party.
I just want to be a number in the crowd.
I just want to show up, eat some bad lunch, and call it good.
Lunch? What are you getting for $31,281? Because that is what the average wedding costs. Well, here's some good news. It's down from $35,000 in 2023.
Inflation did not hit wedding costs.
We'll take it where we can get it. But here's what we really got to talk about. Almost 50%, 48%, this is according to a News Nation story, of people who were polled hope to avoid joining the bridal party because it costs so doggone much money to be a part of the bridal party.
Okay, so let's talk about how much it costs, because I'm going to be honest, I've been a best man before, and I was 23 years old. I didn't spend anything, hardly anything.
What? What did you wear? You didn't rent your tux?
Yeah, rented a tux and, went to the party.
Did the groom's family pay, or the groom pay for the tux, or was that
No,
on
I paid
you?
for that. Yeah.
Was that a long time ago?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
so
I
back
mean,
then it was a few bucks.
25 years ago. It was, $50, $100.
Okay.
It wasn't too bad, but my best friend. You gotta show up for that.
That's awesome. Yeah. Did you pay for anything else? Did you
No.
buy him a gift?
We did a little bachelor party, but it was at another buddy's house, and it was mostly just to get together and
watch
and
a football
hang out.
game
Yeah,
or something
yeah,
like
totally.
that. Super cheap. Everybody potluck.
Yes.
You brought the baked
Oh,
beans.
it was. Yeah, I think we
Somebody
ordered
brought
pizza.
The slaw. Yeah, the coleslaw. Yeah. Oh, okay. Which is
Big
great.
spenders.
Actually, I commend you for that. We should do more of that in this country. Keep it low cost. Keep it low key. Everybody keeps it simple, and everybody stays happy. But being a bridesmaid, okay, always a bridesmaid, never a bride, can cost about $3,430.
$3,500 bucks.
Mm-hmm. I know. Did you just fall?
What do you guys
over?
do? I am the worst. I was the worst best man ever. Then
Pretty much.
$3,500. That's the expectation.
It's for your outfit and the events. And what's happening is sometimes the bride will pick like a destination bridal shower.
We're going to Vegas.
So you got to hop a plane. You're paying for that. You got to pay for a hotel room unless you can fit all 7 in one hotel room. And then there's usually a couple of events that go along with that you're paying for. So when you break it down between the bridesmaid's dress that you're buying, the shoes, the gift, you got to have your hair done unless the bride's budget covers that. Sometimes that includes the cost of makeup, too. You got to have that done. Am I missing anything, ladies? We're going to take your live phone calls at 801-575-TALK in about 5 minutes. Sometimes there's like a little purse involved. I mean, all these things start to add up, right? And then you don't want to bring the cheapest gift to the bunch. And sometimes maybe the bridesmaids go in and buy a gift together. And so everybody's got to pitch in $50 or $100. It adds up, Dave. But I think the real issue has become when brides say, look, I want to have my bridal shower in Maui, and you're all boarding a plane in Salt Lake City, and it's just $1,000 for the flight. I don't know how this goes down when it comes to brides telling bridesmaids this, because I haven't been a bridesmaid in a really, really long time. But can you say no? You just say, I just cannot afford that. After you get married, I'm also a bridesmaid in Betty's wedding. And then after that, Jackie's asked me to be a bridesmaid in her wedding. Where does this end?
And obviously, people are spending this, right? This News Nation report shows that people are spending $3,500 if you're in the line. Like that's just brutal on so many levels. And to your point, it's incredibly difficult to tell your best friend, hey, I'm honored, thank you, I'm broke, and I can't do it. And he's like, I'm only getting married once, hopefully. You got to do this for me, man. You got to be there. You're my best man.
So, and then 42% of Americans don't have savings set aside for these major milestones like weddings or buying a house. But let's just talk about the weddings. Let's just keep it on point here. If you don't have money set aside for a wedding, then of course you're going to ask your bridesmaid or your groomsmen to step up and pay for things like the tuxedos or the bachelor party. So you don't even have enough money for the ceremony and the after party, right? The reception. So you're going to have to, maybe we need to stop asking. Maybe we need to start doing more of what you guys did. Gather around a TV, watch a football game, and order some pizzas.
Yeah.
Because I've also found that when you go out of town with your girlfriends, things can get a little dicey sometimes, right? And there's nowhere to escape. Maybe this is like this with guys, too. If you're on a week-long bachelor party, in Kalamazoo, Michigan together, is that where Kalamazoo is? This is random. I heard it in a song today. It was random. But there's nowhere to escape, It's like I love you like a brother or a sister, and I want to walk down the aisle on your behalf and be a witness on your wedding, but I don't want to spend 7 days with you.
It is a commitment, and I wonder where the pressure comes from. Is it self-imposed? Can we just say no? But I'm looking at these numbers, and if it's going to cost me $31,000 for a wedding, and then on top of that, you've got the groomsmen and the bridesmaids, they're coughing up hundreds or maybe even thousands of dollars more each. We need to look ourselves in the mirror. Like, how do you burden someone with that? This is my solution. You got to pay for everything. Bride and groom, quite frankly, you have to pay for everything. You got to pay for the tickets. You got to pay for the destination. You got to the flights, the food. You pay for everything. Because if you can afford it, awesome. If that's how you want to spend your money, then that's fantastic. I'm just not sure you can ask anybody that is coming to pay for anything. I don't think you should pay for anything. And then in response, your best friend can buy you a gift. That's what they should be responsible for.
A good gift.
Am I crazy?
No. Well,
I'd love to hear from you folks.
I didn't
like, how is
that
that not
question.
the thing?
801-575-TALK. Do you agree with Dave? Do you disagree with Dave? Bride and groom, it's up to you.
You pay for everything.
801-575-TALK.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
Someone asked me the other day, you know how many devices the average home has connected to their Wi-Fi network? It's way more than I thought. I actually went home and counted how many connected devices I own. More than a dozen, all to keep me connected to the good stuff. Streaming, my gaming, all my interneting, you name it. Xfinity knows the number of devices we have connected to our internet is growing by the year. That's why they engineered their gateways to handle hundreds of connected devices. Hundreds. For real. Now through October 10th, get Xfinity Gig Internet for $25 a month for 2 years with unlimited data when you add unlimited mobile. Plus, get Peacock Premium, a $7.99 monthly value, included at no extra cost, and ask how to get an eligible free 5G phone with Xfinity Mobile. Make sure your home Wi-Fi can handle everything you throw at it and then some. Click, call, or visit a store today. Xfinity. Bring on the good stuff. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account equipment, taxes, and fees extra. Gig Wi-Fi requires Xfinity Gateway. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet after promo. Regular interest rates apply. Actual speeds vary.
Paid for by government. Did you hear? A secret hoard of 1932 $10 gold Indian coins have been found. These gorgeous 1932 gold coins are as bright and shiny as the day they were struck, and less than 200 of these gold coins are available. Coin experts are calling the secret U.S. gold coin discovery a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and you can own a piece of the hoard. When you call, you are guaranteed a 1932 dated gold coin featuring Lady Liberty with an Indian war headdress and a majestic eagle. With limited availability, you must call now. These These 1932 dated gold coins are still in uncirculated condition with brilliant luster. That is 92 years of history you can hold in your hand. To learn more, call 1-800-495-6468. Call now and you'll receive a free bonus over a $55 value free with every order. Call 1-800-495-6468 now to secure your 1932 $10 gold Indian coins before they sell out. Don't wait. You must act fast. Call now.
This is a monthly coordinated test of the broadcast stations and cable systems in your area. Equipment that can quickly warn you during emergencies is being tested. If this had been an actual emergency such as severe weather, earthquake, or evacuation, official messages would have followed the alert tone. This station serves the Utah operational area. This concludes the test of the emergency alert system.
Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, what are you waiting for? Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, we could be setting some warm weather records this final week of September. Second, the U.S. economy has been showing some strong growth over the past year. And third, Salt Lake City putting some big money into redevelopment of the State Fair Park. 80 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
What is going on with the bridal party that bridesmaids, when they're asked to participate in the line, they're forking out an average of $3,500 for their outfit, the dress. There's a trip involved to celebrate the bride-to-be. It's costing bridesmaids a lot of money, so much so that 48% of Americans who were asked about, being a part of the bridal party, get down on their hands and knees and beg and pray that they go unnoticed, that they go unasked. They don't want to be a part of it because it costs them too much money.
How many brides and grooms out there think that every one of your friends is independently wealthy? Like Elon Musk wealthy? Like, how rich do you think we are, folks? When your expectation is, oh, yeah, you're going to be able to come to this destination wedding, and then we're going to have a big bachelor party or a bachelorette party. We're going to pay for this, and we're going to have new outfits. And then, oh, yeah, by the way, there's a gift involved as well. Do you have to spend all the money on the outfit and buy a gift? So here is my solution. Bride and groom, you are responsible for everything. Every dress, every tuxedo rental, everything you are responsible for, you got to pay for it. And you can scale it up or back accordingly.
So if you want an out-of-town trip for your bachelor or bachelorette party,
you're paying gas money.
Flights?
Everything. Flights.
Hotel. Buffet?
Yep.
Oof. 801-575-TALK. Hi, Nathan. Do you agree with Dave's take on this?
Absolutely agree. I think that weddings in general are so ridiculously overpriced and overexpensive, and this is why. I think too many people put their focus on the wedding and not the marriage. If you really care about, you're marrying your best friend, you're going to engage in this commitment for life. The reality is you can do that just by, going down to the courthouse or, eloping for a few $100. This idea that I have to now spend tens of thousands of dollars to make a commitment is ridiculous to me. I understand the party aspect of it and, celebration part.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that I'm like, oh, kids, you just go elope, right? I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that the focus becomes so far off of the marriage that's focusing so much on the wedding. I think it's detrimental to the marriage long term.
Right. And I will say, my wedding day was a blur. I'm sure I'm not alone. Do I remember who was there? With the exception, of course, family and close friends. No, I don't. it's not to offend anybody who was there. I mean, I'm sure
You had a
I
lot of stuff
appreciate it.
going on that
I
day,
have a
Deb.
lot of stuff going, and then it downpoured. It rained. Like the skies opened up.
And how much stress did that bring?
Tons. It was
a mess.
It was a mess because then the DJ's equipment was ruined because it was on the back patio. We were pulling equipment in, all the things. And so the word elope perked my ears up there, Nathan. Thanks for your phone call.
Let's go to Todd in Centerville. What do you think? Should the bride and groom be responsible 100% top to bottom for all the costs?
Dave, I agree with you 100% because it's so easy to spend somebody else's money.
So easy to spend
Todd.
Dad's money.
Well, yeah, right? It is. It's so easy, even if you're asking a bridesmaid who's the seventh in the bridesmaid
Yes.
line to spend $3,500 on flights and food to Maui so you can have some bridesmaid or bachelorette party memories with lots of Instagram photos. Yeah, it's really easy. But imagine that. If you have 7 people in your line and they're all paying $3,000 to $3,500, you've asked your line, just one line, that's not even the groomsman, to drop $25,000. $25,000 on your wedding.
That's obscene.
Yeah. Well, what if you have 4?
Oh,
okay,
my
then it's $15,000, $16,000, $17,000. That's a lot to ask of somebody.
We're taking your phone calls 575. That's the text line, 57500.
You can text us there, too.
575.
We love
Talk. KSL Talk. Dave in West Valley, what do you think?
I'm kind of with you. Here's the deal. So when I got married, we actually pulled it off for under $3,000.
Heroes.
I catered it myself. I drove to the wedding in a U-Haul van. Literally.
I love it, Dave.
I pulled it myself.
What?
I did all the catering. I did all the food. I was literally setting up the food until I had to go change.
So was the U-Haul van
it can be done on the cheap.
So was the U-Haul van because you had your furniture in the back and you were moving in with your new wife, or is it for the food?
It was for the food. I went to Sam's Club in the U-Haul van, and then that's how I went to the wedding ceremony, and my best man returned the van afterwards.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, it can be done. We pulled it off for under $3,000. The dress was secondhand. My wife's wedding dress.
That's awesome.
I was in my military uniform, and
that's awesome.
it can be done.
I love it.
Wait, how long did the marriage last? Is it still lasting?
We're still married, 10 years.
Congrats.
10 years,
Yeah.
$3,000. That's a great investment. That's a great ROI.
I was going to ask you, what year you got married, because sometimes when people say, well, I got married for $3,000, they'll tell us it was in like
1953. Yeah.
And in today's
2014, that's a good deal.
Yeah, that's a great way of doing things.
Ryan in Layton, Team Dave is rolling right now, just rolling with support, where the bride and groom should pay for everything and not require a single penny from the groomsman, the bridesmaid. What do you think, Ryan?
I was going to say, we're going to add another one to Team Dave because it's definitely one of those things. I feel it's the tradition that we've just kind of bought into for a little too long. And I think it's one of those things. Me and my wife, we got married 9 years ago, and we went and got married, and we're like, hey, if you guys want to come, have some fun with us, meet us at Texas Roadhouse, and we'll go from there, type of thing. And so we did it for cheap. We're still married, still happy and everything. And then any of that, kind of some of that money that might have been used for a wedding, we just said, hey, pile that into for our honeymoon fund, and then we're going to go buy a couch also for our new place.
Nice.
And worked out great.
Nice. All right. Well, next time you guys go to Texas Roadhouse, make sure you invite me. I love the herb-crusted chicken there. Thanks so much for the phone call, Ryan. How about Jason in Providence? Providence, hi.
Hey, how's it going?
It's good.
I'm actually currently cruising over in Bear Lake listening to you, but
super jealous.
I've been in the DJ industry for my whole life, and I've done I don't know how many weddings, but I quit doing weddings just because they're such a pain in the butt. But just to add to it, I've been married 3 times, and my first wife was in the high-end wedding couture, whatever you call it, wedding industry, and she did like tiaras, like $3,000 tiaras. And I've been to wedding boutiques in New York City. They're the highest of the highest. And guess what, guys? I've never heard of people spending that kind of money. And the last time I've been married for about 9 years, and I've never even heard of people spending that kind of money. I mean, you know,
the $3,500,
but you know what? I'm on your side, Dave. This is ridiculous. It's stupid. Like, why? You know what? If you're rich and you want to, you know, pay for some elaborate, cool destination wedding, go for it. But I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, don't heap it on me, for sure.
Well,
I'm with you.
I just wonder what your take is on this, Dave. Do you think social media has something to do with this, where people are posting their destination, you know, bridal showers, their destination bachelor parties, their
for sure,
weddings?
Oh, yeah, you're keeping up with the Joneses.
We're all buying into it.
And it's not just keeping up with the Joneses, you know, your neighbor. You're keeping up with everyone that is following you on your Instagram account. I mean, let's be honest. If we're being totally honest, how comfortable would you be posting your wedding, your shoestring wedding, Justice of the Peace wedding on Instagram and feel like, no one's going to judge me for this. No one's going to judge me for this.
Hey, I just want to note that in the 11 o'clock hour, we will be updating you on what's going on with the expected hurricane in Florida. I'm just reading at the bottom of the CNN crawl there in the graphic that up to 20 feet storm surge is expected in Florida.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour, Utah Supreme Court. It wasted no time issuing a ruling on Amendment D after hearing arguments in the case yesterday. A few hours later, it affirmed a lower court ruling saying votes for or against the constitutional amendment will not count, even though it remains on the ballot. Amendment D would have given the legislature authority to change or repeal ballot initiatives passed by voters. Plans to revitalize downtown Salt Lake City going forward, but so are plans to upgrade other parts of town. KSL News Radio's Michael Commit has more.
The Utah Fair Park Area Investment and Restoration District is hoping to breathe new life into the State Fair Park. If all goes well, then year-round restaurants and retail could come to the North Temple front of the park, and potentially a Major League Baseball stadium could be built in the future as well.
The district working with Salt Lake City to secure an agreement for utilities by the end of the year. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Mayor Eric Adams has become the first mayor in New York City history to be indicted while in office. Adams is charged with 5 counts, including bribery, solicitation of illegal foreign campaign contributions, wire fraud, and conspiracy to commit wire fraud. He's promising to stay in office. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day now 227 points. The NASDAQ is up 40. And our KSL weather, just sunshine, but we could break some temperature records. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Winter is coming, but there's still time to replace those drafty old windows before the cold comes and drives up your heating bill. Just make one call and take advantage of the Advanced Window Products Fall Special. $2,500 off on 10 windows or more, and that's $2,500 off their already low factory direct prices because at Advanced Window Products, they're the factory. Your windows are built in their facility right here in Salt Lake City. You're buying local, and with their lifetime guarantee, you don't ever have to call some faraway state for help. Advanced Window Products is right here proudly backing up their work, so make one call, save on your heating bill, and get a rebate from the energy companies. Advanced Window Products offers 0% financing. They can even give you amazing new windows with no money down. And don't forget, $2,500 off their factory direct prices, but you have to call now. Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or go to advancedwindows.com.
Progressive presents Renters MVP's Most Valuable Possessions. Today's MVP, Emily Neal's 70-inch TV. Because after watching her second-grade students yell at each other for hours, there's nothing Emily enjoys more than watching super rich housewives also yell at each other. Why? Because those women are not her responsibility. And that's why her TV is today's MVP. Keep your most valuable possessions protected by bundling your renters and auto insurance with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
Tommy! I can't wait for golf this weekend, huh, buddy? Time flies. Love you, man. Oh, don't forget your knee brace again. We aren't in college anymore.
Moments together matter, so help protect yourself from RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Mark Christiansen.
If you're planning on using I-15 through Utah County, it's looking really well. Looking like traffic's moving fine from Orem all the way up through the point of the mountain here in the Salt Lake Valley. Traffic's at full speed if you're headed towards downtown. 215 in great shape. I-80 eastbound through Parley's Canyon looks good as well. No problems on Legacy or 15 in Davis County also. Mark Christiansen in the KSL Traffic Center.
Our KSL weather, sunny through Saturday with highs in the 90s. And right now, we're at 81 degrees with sunny skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Before we get to Boyd Matheson in just a moment, we are going to go live to ABC News coverage right now out of Florida, where they are gearing up for what could be a Category 3 hurricane hitting landfall by this evening. We don't have that live anchored news coverage right now? Okay. Let me go take you to the FEMA chief just moments ago speaking at the White House about the preparations for Hurricane Helene in Florida.
The message is take this seriously. I mean, we look at the cone, and the cone is the wind, but the water is what kills people. And so we need to really look at where this storm surge is going to be in Florida. But Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and those Appalachians, they're going to have up to 20 inches of rain in an area that can have significant flash flooding. And that is really life-threatening. And it comes so much faster than what we see from a storm surge, right? They're going to have less warning once the rain starts there. So they need to know what they're going to do now, put those plans in place today for where they're going to go, how they're going to contact their family and their friends, what they're going to need to take with them, like medicine or powered devices for medical reasons. It's not too late. They should be able to put those plans together today so they can take the actions that their local officials tell them to do.
And it sounds like this storm surge is the key to this. They call it an unsurvivable storm surge of 20 feet. That is incredible.
Yeah, it's Category 2 right now with wind, according to NBC News, speeds of 105 miles an hour, expected to make landfall on in Florida. It looks like this evening. It's about 250 miles southwest of Tampa, traveling at 14 miles an hour. You want to make sure you're right with Jeff Kaplan this afternoon and Jeff Kaplan's afternoon news team starting at 3 o'clock. He will have full coverage of what's going on in Florida and the latest there in terms of safety measures and precautions that are being taken.
Dave and Dujanovic have inside sources.
Let's turn now to our very own inside sources, Boyd Matheson, and what his inside sources are saying about Vice President Harris telling Wisconsin Public Radio that she supports eliminating the Senate filibuster to codify Roe v. Wade.
Boyd, this is going back to ninth grade civics class, but maybe you can reset a little bit for us the Senate filibuster and the significance of what it would mean to eliminate the Senate filibuster.
So the Senate filibuster is really designed to protect the rights of the minority party, whoever the minority party is in the Senate. So the House, of course, is just a majority rule. You get to a simple majority, you win the vote, you pass it along, you do it. The Senate is designed to be a little slower. The founders talked about it as being the cooling saucer, where things are supposed to just kind of rest a little bit, get rid of the fiery debate that happens in the House, and then be a little more thoughtful, a little bit more deliberative in it. And it requires that on anything that's going to be significant, that you've got to get some compromise, that you've got to work across the aisle because you have to get to 60 votes in the Senate to close. It's called cloture. So it closes the debate and gets you to the actual vote, which still is just majority. You only have to get to 51 in the Senate. But this idea of being able to filibuster, we usually always think about it in terms of someone standing on the Senate floor and speaking for hours and hours. I actually think they should go back to that. If you're going to have a filibuster, you should have to stand there and deliver that talk or keep speaking. But it does allow things to just happen quickly. The danger to this is if you eliminate the filibuster in the Senate, then you are going to have massive sweeps back and forth in terms of whoever's in control of the Senate. So I thought the most interesting comment about what the vice president said actually came from Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona, a Democrat, now independent, on her way out. What she said was, look, if the vice president thinks it's okay to codify Roe through getting rid of the filibuster, guess what? They could ban all abortions in the country because there would be no filibuster in the Senate to stop it if the other side was in control. So if you get rid of the filibuster, then we're just going to be on this pendulum on a wide range of things, well beyond just codifying Roe. That's a small piece of this conversation, and it's why it has some Democrats a little bit nervous as well.
Well, I want to read Sinema's tweet, if you will. To state the supremely obvious, eliminating the filibuster to codify Roe v. Wade also enables a future Congress to ban all abortions nationwide. What an absolutely terrible, short-sighted idea is what she posted.
So very short-sighted, very populist, playing to your base. So it's politics. And so to me, that's the biggest problem of this. So this is revealing part of what the vice president is now getting specific on. We've been asking for specifics. Here's a specific, and I think this is concerning to a lot of folks, not just on the right, but a lot of moderates that say, wait a minute, if we're willing to get rid of the rule just so we can do what we want to do, we won't always be in power. And when the other side's in power, they're going to do the same thing, and they might do it worse. And so you have to be very careful what you wish for, because if you're in the majority now and it sounds like a great idea, when you're in the minority, you might have to think twice.
Senator Bernie Sanders, according to this Axios poll, says that he's long been skeptical of eliminating the filibuster, but that he'd be willing to carve out an exception for abortion rights.
Yeah, and as soon as you have an exception for abortion rights, and then you have a carve-out for immigration, you have a carve-out for health care, you have a carve-out for guns, whoever's in charge can do whatever carve-out they want, because then there will be precedent in all of that. And so to me, the thing we have to get back to is that the filibuster is a feature, not a flaw. When it comes to the United States Senate. And it actually ties all the way back to the Constitution, because we talk about all this division. Roe is a very dividing thing in our country right now. And so you get all the way back to the Constitution, people say, well, that's dividing. It's dividing, it's dividing. The Constitution, more than it's a governing document, it's a unifying document, because it forces everybody to work together. From the very beginning, we'll go all the way back to your civics class, Dave. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union. And so what we the people decide to do together, that's what makes the country. And if we eliminate the need to do anything together because we can just do it by majority rule, that's a dangerous day for the republic.
So are there any teeth to this? Because sure, it's Vice President Harris right now. This isn't the only time I've heard it, and I can't think of any Republican offhand that would suppose or support this. But why now, or why the push? And do they not see clearly the long-term problems with this?
Well, I think Kirsten Sinema was right. Short-sighted. This is a very short-sighted play, and clearly the Harris campaign is saying, look, women's reproductive rights is going to be a major influence on the outcome of this election. I'm going to play to that, and this is clearly a play to that. And a play to that might win you an election, but doesn't mean you get to lead.
Is there a practical path forward? Because oftentimes you talk about this pie-in-the-sky kind of promise that politicians throw out. Is this something that could happen?
So let's play the scenario out. If the Democrats won the Senate and won the White House, even took the House, you could see it happening. Yeah, for sure. You could see, okay, we're in power, and when we're in power, we're going to wisely exercise all power. And so you could see that playing out. It gets bantered about a lot, but we've had such a closely divided Senate for so long that those in the minority party have said, well, we're not going to push for this. And those in the majority have said, we're not going to push for it because the next cycle could be tough for us and we could find ourselves in the minority really fast. And so do we really want to go to – I remember being there when I was the chief of staff. I remember all of the rules. And Harry Reid wanted to get rid of the filibuster and brought everybody in, and we're going to carve it out. And they have carved it out for some of those judicial nominees, some of the Supreme Court stuff. But it's precedent, and it's a dangerous one that we all should look at. Marty Gold is a great one. If you're looking for some great resource on that, he's connected with the Orrin G. Hatch Foundation. He's probably the preeminent expert on the filibuster in the Senate and why it matters. Great resource for everybody.
Boyd Matheson, thank you so much for joining us as we continue to follow this, see if there's a groundswell of energy behind this idea of getting rid of the filibuster in the Senate.
If you've missed the big local story of the day, the Utah Supreme Court issuing its decision on Amendment D last night that it is void. Justices agreeing that a lower court judge here in Utah ruled correctly that the legislature did not meet constitutional requirements for Amendment D to be counted. In the 9 o'clock hour of the show, we asked State Senator Todd Weiler for his reaction to the Utah Supreme Court decision.
The legislature, we screwed up. We should have published it in newspapers 60 days before the election, and we didn't. And that's on us. That's not the Supreme Court's fault.
Next, a live analysis from KSL at Night host Taylor Morgan about what he thinks comes next on this issue and the Utah legislature.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
This is Derek Overstreet of the New Millennium Group and host of Stop Working and Start Living Radio. If you're close to or in retirement and you don't have a tax plan, call us right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Listen, our country's been spending like never before, and the tax bill is coming soon. If you need an income tax strategy and a financial plan that will get you through the rest of your life, give my team a call, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. If you want an investment plan that allows you to keep more of your gains and pay less taxes, give us a call, 888-999-6370. My team specializes in the type of plan that will get you retired 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible. So, get a no-cost tax analysis by calling 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. My team is standing by now.
An improbable path to 4-0.
Sione Moa. He wanted Moa, and he kept going all the way in for 6. Run of the year.
This week, BYU is back on the road for another Big 12 showdown. BYU Baylor pregame starts at 8 in the morning with kickoff at 10 on Utah's legacy home for the Cougars, KSL News Radio.
The Management Minute is a service of the MBA program in the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. I'm Professor Scott Hammond. Heads up, the parents called to their Little League player who was counting daisies in the outfield. Heads up, the coach called to his players, hoping that they would see and respond to what was about to happen in the game. When we say heads up, we're saying pay attention to the details of your job. But we're also saying pay attention to what's happening in the game. All of us are charged with doing micro details, but also seeing the bigger picture and reacting to macro surprises and helping others. If you do just the details, heads up. If you see just the big picture, heads up too. Learn more about framing your work in an MBA program from Utah State University. Go to utahstatemba.com. That's utahstatemba.com. I'm Scott Hammond. Hope to see you in one of our classes.
Tommy! I can't wait for golf this weekend, huh, buddy? Time flies. Love you, man. Oh, don't forget your knee brace again. We aren't in college anymore.
Moments together matter, so help protect yourself from RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Sweet chocolate reward. Sweet chocolate reward.
This is not just the sound of someone picking up a sweet treat at Walgreens. This is the sound of someone picking up a sweet treat right after receiving all their vaccines in one trip. This is the sound of treating yourself, because you protected yourself.
Stop by or schedule both your flu and COVID-19 vaccines today and grab yourself a sweet treat while you're at it. Vaccine subject to availability. State, age, and health-related restrictions may apply.
I'm Dave Cawley, investigative journalist and host of the podcast Cold. In October of 1985, a woman named Cherie Warren left work at a busy Salt Lake City office
to meet her estranged husband at a downtown auto dealership.
She never made it home. Cherie's car surfaced weeks later in Las Vegas.
In the parking lot of a hotel casino.
No one knows how it got there.
Strange. It was strange.
Both Cherie's estranged husband and her boyfriend raised suspicion for investigators.
I kind of thought that he might have done something.
But no arrests were ever made. In Cold Season 3, we dig into double lives, make new connections in the case, and examine the difficulty raised by reasonable doubt.
We want answers just as much as anyone else.
They have creeps like that now too, so nothing's changed.
That's the new Cold Season 3, The Search for Cherie, now available anywhere you get your podcasts.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, Amendment D will be on Utah's election ballot this fall, but the state Supreme Court says votes for or against it can't be counted. Second, the mayor of New York City has been indicted on 5 counts related to corruption. And third, Lehigh City has clarified the hours of its new family park. It'll be open 7 days a week. 81 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
If you missed the big top local story today, we've got it for you right now.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
The Utah Supreme Court issuing a ruling last night, not long after they heard arguments for and against Amendment D being counted. The Supreme Court ruled in favor of what a lower court judge had ruled. So agreed with that lower court judge's ruling that Amendment D will be void. Let's do a quick reset on what Amendment D is, Dave, because there are A, B, C, and D has to do with ballot initiatives.
Yes, ballot initiatives, the way the people, that you and I, can get laws passed. We can write something up, and in a simple 13-step process that will cost millions of dollars, you too can write up your own law and possibly get it on the ballot and possibly get it passed.
One of the issues, there were 2 issues regarding the constitutionality of this, the process. And one of the issues that was raised early on to get Amendment D voided was that the legislature had not published Amendment D in a newspaper in each of the counties 60 days prior, counties across Utah, 60 days prior to the November election day. And that's one of the things that got him caught up in this.
And you may be asking yourself, why in the world is that the requirement to publish in at least one newspaper in every single county? Have you ever heard of the internet? Well, no. Obviously, when this was written back in the state constitution, we had no idea about the internet. So, yeah, times have changed, but the timeline hasn't, right? So they say 60 days before you have to publish this out. Well, the argument that the state was making was, well, we published it online. Well, yeah, you published it 57 days, not 60.
We asked State Senator Todd Weiler about this issue, about the publication.
The legislature, we screwed up. We should have published it in newspapers 60 days before the election, and we didn't. And that's on us. That's not the Supreme Court's fault.
And that tanks D, the Amendment D. Could it possibly tank the other amendments? Because the same amendments, A, B, C, and D, they all missed the deadline to publish. Joining us right now, Taylor Morgan. Taylor, what do you think? Is this going to tank the other ones?
Oh, Dave, Debbie, so good to be with you. And listen, I have a lot of respect and gratitude for my friends in legislative leadership. However, as someone who has run multiple ballot initiatives in Utah and has dealt with a literal mountain of onerous technical requirement minutia in order for an initiative to qualify for the ballot, I can't help but feel a little bit of justice may have been served, poetic in some ways here. It's a little bit ironic that the legislature who has imposed all kinds of wacky requirements on ballot initiatives somehow missed the posting deadline for public notice themselves. It's quite rich, actually, Dave and Debbie.
Well, Taylor, I want to actually I do feel as though the legislature, and Todd said this, that they did not read that part of the Constitution, or they didn't review that part of the Constitution, but they were focused on more of the language in state code. And so this idea that can't they come back at some point down the road and get this implemented in a way that does fit within the constitutionality, within the constitutional guidelines? So this is just maybe a temporary setback for the state legislature.
Yeah, Debbie, I think that's right. I think it is a temporary setback. And I think that, I can understand the arguments that the legislature made before the Utah State Supreme Court yesterday, right? They made the argument that, hey, notice was served to the voters of Utah, perhaps in a different way. Of course, every news outlet, every TV station, of course, here on KSL News Radio, we have talked at length about Amendment D as well as the other amendments. And so does that not also meet the public notice requirement? Well, according to the Utah Constitution, it does not. There is a specific public notice requirement of 60 days. The legislature didn't get around to actually posting that kind of required notice until September 11th. It was due on or before September 5th. And so certainly, yes, the legislature could come back in 2026 and put this ballot amendment back on the ballot for voters to decide then. But really, it is difficult for the legislature because their entire justification for passing this ballot amendment in a special session, let's not forget, they declared a state of emergency to do so. Their entire rationale was that they had to do so before 2026 in order to fend off outside groups and foreign-funded ballot measures that they anticipate coming in 2026. So the timeline is a problem for them, even though theoretically they could come back in the future, Debbie.
Okay.
Taylor Morgan is joining us right now. You know him from KSL at Night. In his day job, run a number of initiatives here in Utah, so he's very, very familiar with running the initiatives themselves and all the requirements. Let me go back to how this is going to affect Amendment A, B, and C. Because we know D is dead. What about A, B, and C? Because they all seem to have missed the same deadline.
Yeah, great question, Dave. I'll try to be succinct here. And I am not an attorney, to be clear. I just pretend to be one at family gatherings. So my understanding is that Amendment A was challenged. A legal motion was brought by the UEA to challenge the constitutionality of Amendment A based on this same notification deadline issue. So I do suspect that it is probable that Amendment A will also be voided from the ballot. Now, I have heard two different takes on Amendments B and C. I have heard that because none of the four amendments complied with the constitutionally required public notice deadline, that all four ballot amendments will be likely voided on the ballot. However, I have also heard attorneys say that there has been no legal motion brought by any party questioning the validity of B and C on the notification deadline. And so without any legal claim, B and C would still stand even if Amendments A and D are voided. So I have heard differing opinions from different attorneys on that. So we're not quite certain what's going to happen there. I suspect we will find out fairly soon.
And the fact that it was the state Supreme Court that made that ruling, I wonder if that sets the new precedent that perhaps you don't need it specifically spelled out or have individual lawsuits, that this is the new standard. Is that one of the arguments?
I think whatever the Utah State Supreme Court does will set that standard. We know that the lower court, when they heard the case against Amendment A, they decided to essentially wait and see and base that ruling on what the Utah Supreme Court did. So I think it is clear that the ruling on Amendment D will impact Amendment A. But again, Dave, yet to be seen for sure on whether that impacts B and C.
Taylor Morgan, KSL at Night host, thanks so much for joining us this morning, and also with Morgan May, Public Affairs. Appreciate your insight, and your obviously you have a lot of insight on running ballot initiatives. I do want to also mention that leadership in the legislature has sent us a statement here at KSL, and it reads, the court's action is unprecedented and troubling. The legislature offered the court a way to preserve the voting rights of all Utahns, but instead the court took the chance to vote on Amendment D out of the voters' hands. And they called it a sad day for Utah and voters for or against the constitutional amendments. That's from President of the Senate Stuart Adams and House Speaker Mike Schultz. This story is in large part still developing. We know what the decision is from the Utah Supreme Court, agreeing with the lower court decision to void Amendment D. What we don't know yet is what will happen with Amendment A, which has also been challenged in court. That, of course, is a story that us and the entire news team here at KSL News Radio will continue to track.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. Two sisters from Eagle Mountain say they were threatened by an armed driver in a pharmacy drive-through line. They say the driver cut in, and one of the sisters tried to confront her about it.
My sister's walking away. I see a gun pointed at her. I was screaming that she was pointing a gun at a pregnant woman and that she was being crazy and needed to settle down.
The sisters called 911, and police then arrested 53-year-old Christine Cotter on a charge of aggravated assault. Lehigh City has finalized the hours for its newest park. The family park will be open now, 9 a.m. to sunset, Monday through Sunday. That announcement comes after the city reported break-ins and vandalism, as well as families complaining about the park being open for fewer hours on Sunday. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The Florida Panhandle expecting a direct hit from Hurricane Helene with a storm surge up to 20 feet. Now, back in 2018, Hurricane Michael brought 10 feet of storm surge, and this is twice that. It's also expected to bring winds gusting between 100 to 115 miles an hour. Your money at this moment. The Dow Jones average up on the day now, 249 points. The NASDAQ is up 43. And our KSL weather. Sunshine and dancing with some temperature records. That's coming up. KSL News Time, 11:32.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
It is a beautiful day outside. Sun is shining. Skies are blue. But it's not going to be that way for very long. So let's talk about some fireplaces.
That's right. Thanks to Master Electrical Service and Mountain Home Services joining forces, not only can you get your electrical done through them and your HVAC done through them, or your heating and air, the plumbing, but now they're also offering fireplaces. And this really is just in time for the chilly weather.
And that is the key of why you want to use Mountain Home Services, because they have the expertise in the plumbing, the heating, air, the electrical. They can handle all of those things. It's just perfect for fireplaces. And they don't just help you pick out the perfect fireplace, but they will help you, or they will do the installation. So you're going to get that same top-end, high-quality Mountain Home Service installation with that 100% satisfaction guarantee.
Yeah, the 100% satisfaction guarantee, plus their upfront pricing guarantee, which means there's no hidden fees. You don't get any surprises at the end. The price they quote you up front is the price you pay when the job is done.
Yeah, learn more about the fireplaces from Mountain Home Services by going to their website, mountainhomeutah.com. That's mountainhomeutah.com.
You can always call them as well at 801-543-2222. Again, 801-543-2222.
Whether you own a local business or a global one, you know that these days, generating growth is a challenge. By teaming with Bank of America, you'll not just stay ahead of the curve, you'll move it. With access to experts, award-winning insights, and business solutions so powerful, you'll make every move matter, locally and globally. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Copyright 2024 Bank of America N.A.
Time is of the essence with COVID-19. Prescription oral treatment must be taken within the first 5 days of symptoms. If you have a high risk factor, ask your doctor if treatment is right for you. Learn more at treatcovid19.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Purchase new wiper blades from O'Reilly Auto Parts today and we'll install them for free. See better and drive safer with O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. Sometimes the hardest thing is the first step to any journey. Going to sotaweightloss.com today, SOTA weightloss.com, and clicking on that button that says request a nutritionist callback. I worked with a nutritionist and still am. I mean, I've been in maintenance for 2.5 years. I lost 34 pounds, but you'll talk to somebody like Shawnee.
I love working here at Soda Weight Loss because I get to see every individual that I work with's lives change on a day-to-day basis. They go from not being able to play with their grandkids to playing with them, walking with them, getting off medications they've been on for decades, and it just makes everything fulfilling in life.
Everybody's looking for the quick fix, and some people out there are going for pills or they're going for injections. The bad news on the backside of that is you usually end up gaining that weight back plus some. Soda will make a difference. They'll help you keep that weight off. Find out how they can help you or somebody in your family. Just go to sotaweightloss.com, spelled SOTA, and it stands for State of the Art.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
We do have an accident going between Draper and Bluffdale. This is on the southbound side of I-15, about 146 south. There are vehicles to the left and vehicles to the right shoulders. And even on the right shoulder, there's a bumper lane there. We're still waiting for emergency crews to arrive. And right now, no lanes of traffic are blocked. Murdoch Hyundai is celebrating 3 brand new dealerships with 1.99% for 5 years on the Tucson or Elantra. Murdoch Hyundai in Logan, Linden, and Murray. MurdochHyundai.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Look for sunny skies through Sunday with highs in the 90s, and right now 81 degrees with fair skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
As you heard us talking about 35 minutes ago, we are paying really close attention here at KSL News Radio to what is going on in Florida right now. There's a major hurricane barreling toward the Florida coast. I want to take you live. Do we have the feed from News Nation, or where are we going with these guys? Let's go to News Nation Live. We're going to go to WFTB in Florida right now in their live coverage.
I was just talking to said they're going to hang out here a little bit longer, but you heard them tell you about the drifts, about how far they were down 20 streets and they drifted all the way down here. So they're saying the same thing. Don't get in the water if you don't know what you're doing. And as conditions get worse throughout the day, they're probably going to take a break and stay out of the water. But we'll be keeping a close eye on all the erosion concerns here, all of the waves and the wind, and we'll keep you guys updated.
We do want to make it clear, it is unsafe to be in the water, even with these teenagers appearing to know what they're doing. Just from a safety standpoint, it is our job to give you information, and the information we get from officials is that the water right now is unsafe to be in, just to be perfectly
Just about
clear.
an hour ago, the Federal Emergency Management Chief, FEMA Chief, was at the White House briefing the press, and in fact, quite frankly, briefing the nation because the networks were carrying it live on the expectation for a 20-foot storm surge once Hurricane Helene hits the coast of Florida, and telling people in Florida who live there what to do.
The message is take this seriously. I mean, we look at the cone, and the cone is the wind, but the water is what kills people. And so we need to really look at where this storm surge is going to be in Florida. But Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and those Appalachians, they're going to have up to 20 inches of rain in an area that can have significant flash flooding, and that is really life-threatening, and it comes so much faster than what we see from a storm surge, right? They're going to have less warning once the rain starts there.
They call that storm surge unsurvivable. And 20 feet, again, because we live in the middle of the desert and we've never experienced a hurricane, what a storm surge is as that hurricane is coming in, it has so much power that as it's moving in, it takes the ocean essentially and pushes the water along with it as it's traveling, and then the ocean rises, and that is the surge. So as the hurricane hits land, it's bringing essentially 20 feet high arrays of the ocean inland, and it's just absolutely catastrophically dangerous.
We're going to go, we just heard from WFTV on their coverage there. Let's go now to NBC2 in Fort Myers, Florida.
10 minutes, but for now, our nonstop coverage of Hurricane Helene continues.
Take a live look right now of Englewood Beach, and this is an area that is notorious for flooding, and the beach is absolutely stunning right now, but look at, this is a wide beach.
I think you can even see a swimmer, or at least somebody in knee-deep water in the middle of that shot there.
Yeah, which probably isn't a good idea at all, but take a look there. That is Englewood Beach, and you can see the waves, and as Lauren just mentioned, the storm, the hurricane, is the closest it's going to be to our coastline into this area right now, and it is pushing the water up onto the beach, and numerous beaches in our area, I'm sure, are going to be damaged.
Absolutely. And now we want to go to breaking news. We just found out from the U.S. Coast Guard that there is a stranded boater 20 miles off the coast of Sanibel. We know the Coast Guard has launched a helicopter to go search for them. They're getting reports of a disabled person on board of that boat. They're on their way to check it out right now. You can count on NBC2 to keep you updated on this developing story.
Yeah, I think
we are tracking the developments in Florida this afternoon, and of course Jeff Kaplan joining in the conversation and the coverage at 3 o'clock from this afternoon as well, as the Hurricane Helene approaches Florida. It is right now considered to be a Category 2. with wind speeds of 105 miles an hour. They expect by the time it hits the Florida shores this evening that it'll be a Category 3. The devastating damage is expected. It is, as of about 45 minutes ago, about 250 or so miles southwest of Tampa and moving at about 14 miles an hour.
And obviously, Florida has dealt with hurricanes forever, and every single year you have a large hurricane that comes in. The most recent Category 3 was Hurricane Idalia, but Ian was the one you probably remember most recently. That was from just 2 years ago, 2022, almost to the day. September 28th was when Hurricane Ian came in. And during Hurricane Ian, there was 161 people that died. 150 of those were in Florida, others in Cuba, North Carolina, and Virginia. And it caused $110 billion in property damage in Florida.
Dave, I want to take us back right now to WFTV in Florida for the latest.
Right there, he did say that they have now told him if that storm surge does do what we expect it to do, that house, even as high as it is, he said it was just 15 feet off the ground. So at 20-foot storm surge, he is getting water into his home. Here's what else he told us about this little town. You see this little grocery store right here? He said that is on the National Registry of a historic building. So there are some other concerns besides just your homes and your roads and things like that. Buildings like this who have been here for dozens.
As we listen to this projection for a 20-foot storm surge for Hurricane Helene, I couldn't help but think of and see what Hurricane Ian was in comparison. Now, Hurricane Ian was a Category 4. Hurricane Helene is currently a Category 2. They think it might be able to get up to a Category 4. But let's talk about the storm surge. Again, they're expecting a 20-foot storm surge. Hurricane Ian had a 10 to 15-foot storm surge. So this could be twice the storm surge as Hurricane Ian. And again, Hurricane Ian was the most costly hurricane in state history. It caused $110 billion in property damage. Again, that storm surge is what I will be paying attention to, Debbie. Hurricane Ian, 10 to 15 feet. This one is expected to be 20.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
A secure retirement just doesn't happen by accident. When that day comes, what's most important to you? Are you sure to have more money than month? What about unexpected medical costs? Do you want to leave something to the kids or the grandkids? I'm Jeff Jr. from Trajan Wealth, and I want you to know we specialize in these questions and can help make your retirement dream a reality with some of the highest guarantees in the business. Imagine getting up to a guaranteed 12% growth on your retirement income and up to a 30% bonus up front just for opening an account. If you have funds sitting idle in an old 401k or IRA, consider guaranteeing it to secure the peace of mind you deserve. Don't leave your financial security to chance. Take advantage of the highest guarantees I've seen in my career. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600. Or visit us online at TrajanWealth.com.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy two. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
Mom, meet Sarah.
From first-time Nana moments.
And welcome to Flight 101.
To annual girls trip moments.
Your can't-miss moments are worth protecting against RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV. And there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com.
So where should we go next?
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Utah is known for being home to many entrepreneurs and small business owners, but it can be difficult for them to find the right legal services. AGS Law was created to change that. Founder Ashley Garby Smith joins us with more.
In 2020, I started AGS Law with a distinct mission, providing expert legal services for small business owners, dentists, optometrists, and veterinarians. Our firm stands out for its flat fee model, offering transparent, predictable pricing. At AGS Law, we value building a personal rapport with each client. We are committed to upfront fee structures and quick response times. Our expertise encompasses helping professionals start their businesses, negotiating leases and commercial real estate deals, drafting various agreements, and overseeing the purchase and sale of small businesses and professional practices. We also help protect your brand through trademark registration. Our focus on these specific practice areas guarantees exceptional expertise in small business law and professional practice transitions. Whether you're in the market to buy or sell a business or practice, require contract drafting or reviewing, or want to protect your brand with trademarks, AGS Law is your reliable ally in navigating your legal needs.
From dental law and estate planning to business contracts and trademarks, AGS Law is here to address your business's unique needs. Learn more at their website. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson. Our goal every day on Inside Sources is to help you divide the rage from the reason, elevate the conversation, connect the dots, and make the news make sense in your world. We have conversations with great thinkers, with great leaders, and great people who are just out there making a difference in the world. Now, we do talk about politics, but only so we can discuss society and culture. And then we explore society and culture so we can discuss principles and the people in America and the state of Utah who actually live them and apply them every day. We bring the best and brightest minds to the state of Utah, and we love to take the Utah model and send it out to our nation's capital and beyond. Every day on Inside Sources, you'll be part of that conversation. To help you understand things in a different way, we'll get you to think again about what you think you know, but most important, we're going to help you have confidence to have crucial conversations in your community and in your own home.
Join Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson, 1 to 3 on KSL News Radio.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, a woman in Eagle Mountain cut in line at a pharmacy drive-thru and then pulled a gun when others in line objected. Second, Hurricane Helene expected to hit the Florida Panhandle with winds up to 115 miles an hour and a storm surge up to 20 feet. And third, Amendment D may not be the only ballot measure in trouble this election. Amendment A may have some of the same procedural problems. 81 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
If you want to inject yourself with a weight loss drug like Wegovy, in the United States, the price point is about $1,350 a month. When the United States Senate, senators like our very own Senator Mitt Romney want to know why it's $1,350 a month in the U.S., but $137 a month in countries like Germany.
I don't understand why the price should be different. If the French and the Germans and the Canadians honor our patents, would the companies not be free then to charge the same price there that they charge here? Why charge a lower price there? Why are we so out of line with the rest of the world in terms of the pricing?
And we were talking about these prices here in $1,300. And can you shop for a little better deal? I went to GoodRx, Debbie. I just barely pulled it up, and you can get it for $1,000 at Walgreens, $1,000 at Costco. The University of Utah Health had it cheapest for $935, but that is per month.
And still a lot more expensive than what the Germans are able to secure that for at about $140 a month. Well, the CEO of Novo Nordisk, Lars Jorgensen, said, well, got some red tape here in the United States you got to think about when it comes to the pricing.
It is clear that patients too often struggle to navigate the complex U.S. healthcare system. It is also clear that no single company alone can solve such vast and complicated policy challenges.
And one of the things that came up was what's known as pharmacy benefits managers, which I've always looked at as sort of the middle person that helps negotiate the pricing. But maybe Adam Gardner of KSL at Night has a different take on this.
Yeah, Adam's joining us right now, but not joining us as the KSL at Night host. He's joining us as the state director for Pharmaceutical Care Management Association. Adam, what can you tell us about the role that pharmacy benefit managers play?
So I'm sorry I'm wearing so many hats on your show.
Lots of hats. That's great.
Well, here, picture this. So you own a small business and you want to offer insurance for your companies and you want to offer like competitive drug pricing. You as just your own company, you can't go negotiate with these ginormous $15 billion a year. They're not going to take a meeting with you at Pfizer to negotiate drug prices. And so you have to go out and shop for an insurance plan that to be administered by somebody else. And so, and we have a few of those in the state, and they'll administer your insurance plan, and they have a PBM that works for the insurance companies, and their entire job is to work on behalf of employers, especially large employers. They can actually craft plans and drugs that they want to give to their employees at steep discounts. Pharmaceutical companies set their own prices. PBMs do not. So in that clip that you just played where the CEO is blaming PBMs, that's kind of rich because they don't actually set prices. The drug companies set the prices. So then they put rebates involved, and you negotiate and use rebates. And instead of just doing these one-off businesses like it would be for a middleman, you take 275 million patients. That's what PBMs cover, 275 million Americans. And they go together and negotiate with pharmaceutical companies. So when rebates are used, when other things are used, any type of discount is used, the employer has to pay that money. And so that goes to usually benefit the employer. So a PBM usually takes a 1% to 3% margin. But if they lose money on the cost of a drug, then they have to eat it. The patient isn't responsible for that. So the PBMs cover 275 million Americans, make the prices of drugs cheaper. One of the problems you have with pharmaceutical companies that we're seeing a lot right now, you have some rheumatoid arthritis drugs. Every single insured Utahn in the state pays $6 a month for rheumatoid arthritis drugs. And they may not even be using them because they're so expensive. That's how much it costs. And so if you don't have someone negotiating with the pharmaceutical companies who knows what they're doing, Americans and businesses are going to be paying more.
But Adam, I'm looking at this cost, $1,000 a month for some of these drugs. And if they are negotiating, if PBMs are negotiating this, how is it that they've only gotten it down to $1,000 per month when so many other countries are getting it for a fraction of the cost? Germany's getting it for $150 a month. Canada's getting it, for $300 a month? Why are we failing, or why are they able to negotiate so much better than we are?
They're not able to negotiate more. The government controls their healthcare system. And that's what happens when you have price controls. And I think that you've seen that with insulin here in the United States. Pharmaceutical companies charge so much for something that costs so little that Americans just got sick of it, and the government put a price cap on it. We saw in the Trump administration they capped the price at $35. I'm afraid you're going to see that with every single drug if pharmaceutical companies keep the prices artificially high. Once you develop a drug, you can keep the patent on it for 14 years, and they have a monopoly on all of these products for 14 years. As they start to expire, they make little adjustments to these drugs, and then they will go and get them repatented for longer and longer so generics cannot be used. So when generics can be used, the price of drugs significantly goes down, but that option is off the table if they can keep their patents longer. The only way you're going to see that problem solved is if we swing the pendulum the other way, which I don't think anyone wants to see, and that's the government completely taking over the system and negotiating on their own.
Adam Gardner, KSL at Night host. Of course, you recognize his voice, and he joins our show from time to time in that capacity, but he's also the state director for Pharmaceutical Care Management Association, and he's joining us to talk about pharmacy benefits managers and their role in negotiating price points for pharmaceutical drugs. So I was going to ask you about that. I mean, you'd say nobody wants to see the universal health care. I'm certainly not advocating for it, but when I see that Germany is paying $140 a month for a weight loss drug that could really potentially help people in other areas of their overall health because they're losing weight, what's the argument against it? I mean, you look at it's how much more, it's so much more expensive here. It's $15,000 a year here for people to use the same drug as it's $1,500 a year in Germany, Adam.
So one thing a European Union investigator said when he was investigating an American company, he said to a very unfair investigation, he said, America innovates and Europe regulates. And that the problem is if you go to a completely universal system, you take the innovation out of drug companies. They have no incentive to invent new drugs. We want them to make a profit. We want them to be successful. We want them to be able to invest into new research and development for new drugs. But if we keep at the same system and keeping prices artificially high, then it forces patients and the government to do something that they don't necessarily want to do. So the argument against it would be innovation dies. Innovation goes away if we switch to a European or Canadian model.
Adam Gardner, thank you so much for joining us. He is one of the hosts at KSL at Night, but he was joining us in a very specific capacity here. He works for PBMs, Pharmacy Benefit Managers. He's the state director for Pharmaceutical Care Management Association.
Thanks, Adam. Of course, KSL at Night, always on our agenda, airs 7 to 9 right here on KSL News Radio. Adam and other hosts weighing in with their analysis on political issues of the day. We have got a heavy lineup straight ahead here on KSL News Radio. Of course, first up in the lineup is Maria Chaleos, looking into the future of Amendment A, which is also being challenged in court after Amendment D was officially voided by the Utah Supreme Court last night. Also, our team of reporters and producers,